Live on a Wednesday, the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube. 97.3 ESPN. Follow, subscribe, be a part of the show. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there. One day, finally, the start of a new season is here. And, yesterday we talked about how many wins can the team get. And that kind of got misconstrued into, well, can they win the World Series? I don't know that the team's going to win the World Series. I think the question of can they win the World Series? Yes. Are they the favorite? No. So how do they get there? Well, the roster has been set. The 26-man roster is in my inbox as we speak. It was given to me at 12:10 today, precisely about 2 hours ago. The Phillies have finalized their opening day roster. No real surprises. The 26-man roster has 13 pitchers, 6 left-handers, 7 right-handers, 2 catchers, 6 infielders, 4 outfielders, and 1 DH. Your pitchers, lefties, Alvarado, Backus, Banks, Luzardo, Meza, and Sanchez. Your righties, Bolin, Duran, Keller, Nola, Painter, Pop, and Walker. Marchand, Realmuto are your catchers. Bohm, Harper, Dylan Moore, Edmundo Sosa, Bryson Stott, and Trey Turner are your 6 infielders. Justin Crawford, Adolis Garcia, Otto Kemp, and Brandon Marsh are your 4 outfielders. And Kyle Schwarber, of course, is the designated hitter. The Phillies have selected the contract of Justin Crawford, which means he has made the team. Garrett Stubbs was designated for assignment, and now the Phillies will see if anybody picks him up. Otherwise, he will go back to Lehigh Valley, and we'll see what ends up happening to his Phillies career. The Phillies placed right-handed pitcher Orion Kerkering, Max Lazar, and Zack Wheeler on the 15-day DL, all retroactive to March 22nd, and they have a chance to be back here shortly. We'll have some news on Zack Wheeler coming up. Orion Kerkering, he's interesting. Why? Because he's definitively going to make this team. So that's one right-handed pitcher that will bounce somebody. I would imagine Tim Meza is the first guy on the cut list when somebody returns. So that's one. Zack Wheeler would also be back. He's going to go into the starting rotation, which means most likely Taijuan Walker will bounce into the bullpen. So who would be the next guy on the cut list? Probably Zach Pop would be the next guy that gets bounced from the team. So even though this is the 26-man roster to start the season, there will be some fluidity to this thing probably pretty quickly here. So that is the team. Is it good enough? And we've talked a lot about it, but tomorrow is finally opening day. We say finally because opening day is now earlier and earlier every single year. It is actually getting annoying how early it is. Tonight there's a game. The Yankees play the Giants tonight on Netflix to start the season. And yes, it's opening day. It doesn't feel like opening day. Where is opening day baseball? We don't get that anymore. Now, the Phillies are playing tomorrow at 4 o'clock, but you have a night game at 8 o'clock on Netflix to start your season. These are the things that we have to fix. There should be a game going on right now as we speak. It's a nice day out there. It was just outside about an hour ago. We got to get baseball back to having day baseball. But the Phillies will play the Rangers tomorrow in a day game. And as we said, it's a kind of a new-look Phillies team. If you think about it, yes, the lineup is very similar. You got a couple new pieces. One new piece will be, of course, Justin Crawford in center field. The other one is Adolis Garcia. Then you have Otto Kemp, who will be platooning with Brandon Marsh. So you really have – now, Kemp was here a lot last year, but, he didn't get the full spring training, the full camp, the full everything, and now he is up here from Jump Street. So you will have 3 new bats in the lineup many days of the week. The one big difference on this team is obviously the bullpen. With Alvarado, who got suspended last year, he's back. Kyle Backus is here. He was a guy who was, not here last season. Also, new this year, Jonathan Bolin. It's funny because Jonathan Bolin, I don't think too many people even know who the heck that is. He was the guy the Phillies got in return for Matt Strahm. Strahm has been a very important part of this bullpen the last couple of years, so Bolin replaces Strahm, and it gives them another right-handed pitcher. Duran obviously was not here at the start of last season, but he was here at the end of last season. The biggest addition to this team, most people probably don't know anything about. I mean, quite frankly, Brad Keller was with the United States team at the World Baseball Classic, right? So Brad Keller is a guy that I don't think too many people know too much about and what he means to this team. But quite frankly, Brad Keller is a guy that when the Phillies signed him, he is supposed to be a big-name addition that gets people excited. Last season, he has a 2.07 ERA, 75 strikeouts in 69 and two-third innings. He got a 2-year, $22 million deal with the Phillies. This is not a small signing. The problem is, and by the way, he had a 0.96 whip. The problem with Keller was he wasn't at spring training, really. So nobody really got to hear too much about him. And by the way, he's not a closer. He's a setup man. So when your best offseason addition is the setup man, that kind of goes under the radar a little bit. But adding a setup man and saying we've improved the team doesn't usually resonate with people. But, many times you add something that you thought was your deficiency the year before, right? Hey, in the Eagles case, we thought our offensive coordinator wasn't very good, Brian Johnson. We fired him and hired Kellen Moore. We didn't think our offensive coordinator was very good, Kevin Patullo, so we fired him and hired Sean Mannion. That's what the Eagles will tell you, right? What was our deficiency? Offensive coordinator. The Phillies are saying their deficiency was their bullpen. We liked our team. We liked our offense. They have said it many times. Last night, John Middleton, who potentially was hitting the bottle a little bit last night. He seemed like he was having some fun. I kid. He was a little, he was asked about the Harry the Case thing and the clock not being out there anymore and all this stuff. He seemed like he was, letting it all hang out last night. But Middleton and the Phillies have said many times, this team has won 96 games last year. Look, we have a good team. And how do we improve it? They're saying our offense last season was one of the best offenses in baseball, right? So when the Phillies evaluate their team, they're evaluating the 162. They're not evaluating the 4 games that they played against the Dodgers and saying that those 4 games represent who we are, right? They're saying 162 games, we have one of the best offenses in baseball. They happen to not be one of the best offenses in baseball for those 4 games. Is that the right way to look at things? They're saying over the 162, and if you want to put the 4 games into that big picture, so over 166 games, what was our biggest deficiency? It was our bullpen. And that's the message the Phillies are giving you. That over 166 games of baseball, the biggest deficiency that they had that needed to be addressed was their bullpen. They feel their starting pitching is fine, and they're not wrong about that. They feel their offense is fine enough to win 96 games with. But they feel like if we have a better bullpen, we're a better team. Is that fair or unfair? 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Because Backus wasn't here last year. Bolin wasn't here last year. Keller wasn't here last year. Pop wasn't here last year. Duran, you traded for last year. So that's 5 new guys that you have brought in. and put him in your bullpen. So you have essentially, from 2 years ago, when you had Hoffman, Strahm, and that crew, have remade this bullpen. Because you said in the Mets series that bullpen let you down, so you didn't bring back Hoffman, right? Then last year, you could make an argument that you had to go out and get David Robertson. Now, you can make an argument that you shouldn't have pitched David Robertson in that game, and I would agree with you on that, and I talked about it at the time. That being said, the Phillies are saying, look how the Dodgers beat us last year. When it's all said and done, when you look back at the series against the Dodgers, did they win because Shohei Ohtani was so good? Did they win because Mookie Betts was so good? Did they win because Freddie Freeman was so good? No, at the end of that series, what were we complaining about? Oh, my God. They got Sasaki, and they're pitching Glass now out of the bullpen. And their bullpen was the difference in that series, was it not? Now, you would say, well, our offense stunk. Didn't their offense stink too? When did their offense not stink? When they faced your bullpen. Now, I don't know if that means you're winning games every night 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, but that's how the Dodgers won. Now, the Dodgers went on and got better offensive performances, but what's to say is the Phillies moved on from the Dodgers series and didn't have to face that bullpen every night. Maybe their offense performs more like it did during the regular season. I don't know what to tell you about that. What I do know is I think the Phillies saw the Dodger bullpen and how it affected the series. Their bullpen shut you down. Your bullpen struggled to shut them down. Because, yes, they do have good offensive talent. But their offensive talent didn't kill you. You know what happened, though? Your starting pitching, they shut down Ohtani. They shut down Betts. They shut down Freeman. And then late in the game, when those guys are 1 for 15, and then, bang, they get a chance to face Matt Strahm or David Robertson, that's when they come up with the big hit. Now, what happens this time if instead of facing David Robertson, they're facing Brad Keller? That's what the Phillies are trying to say. Now, I'm not telling you, endorsing that that's going to make them World Series champions. I'm just trying to get in the mind of what they thought the difference was for this team this season. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. That's the White Horse RV text board. We do have some text messages coming in. We will read and react. McGarry's here today. Early Nugs, MKB, as the Sixers are getting some good news today. It looks like, we know Paul George will be back, and it looks like Joel Embiid will be back tonight as well. That is not 100% yet, but he did participate in the shoot-around and had the blue jersey on, which is generally worn by the players that are going to be starters. And in those blue jerseys today, it was Paul George, Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, and Justin Edwards. So that looks like your 5 tonight. By the way, Grimes missed the game the other day because he was sick. He looks like he's going to be back tonight, so it'll be Edgecombe and Grimes in the backcourt, Edwards and George as your forwards, and looks like Joel Embiid is going to play tonight. Who the hell knows? Michael Kasky-Blumane at 3:30 will give us an update. Also, transition over to the Eagles real fast. They made a pair of moves last night, right when we got off the air. They brought back Fred Johnson, and Fred is a guy who started a bunch of games for them last year because he had to. They made a trade, by the way, to get Fred Johnson to come back after he left to go to Jacksonville. They traded to bring him back. So now Fred Johnson is back, so there's your swing tackle for this season. So that is a check mark. You don't need to really go out and find a swing tackle. Fred Johnson will be the swing tackle. So he'll play left if Mailata gets hurt. He'll play right if Lane Johnson misses time. Fine. Then they brought out and got Elijah Moore, the wide receiver. He's interesting. Elijah Moore is another in the long line of guys who have a quote-unquote name. right? He was a second-round pick. The Jets took him. He was a Joe Douglas pick by the Jets. He didn't do much with the Jets. Then he went to Cleveland and actually had some success in Cleveland. The success in Cleveland lands him in Buffalo, and then that's where the success ended. Elijah Moore ends up getting cut in Buffalo last season with essentially no impact for the Bills last year. And the Bills were a team that were somewhat devoid of wide receiver talent. He had 9 catches for 112 yards in 9 games last year. But in Cleveland, back-to-back 100-target seasons. In Cleveland, in 2 years, the guy had 59 catches, 61 catches. He actually did something with no quarterback play there in Cleveland. The other kicker here is, who is Elijah Moore very close with? Anybody have a guess? Elijah Moore is very close with one A.J. Brown. They are buds. They are close. So did the Eagles bring Elijah Moore in to replace A.J. Brown or to play nice with A.J. Brown? And that is an interesting story that we'll talk to Jeff Mosher about a little bit later on in the show tonight. Because now the Eagles have went out and got 2 receivers who have talent, Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore. Here would be my question. Are Elijah Moore and Hollywood Brown brought here to replace A.J. Brown or to make A.J. Brown feel better about being here? And that's where we start today's show on the Sports Bash. We got the text board rocking and rolling early today. I like to see an early group of guys out there, ladies out there, texting in 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. All right, Josh, there are my thoughts. By the way, the Flyers lost last night, 3-2. I watched most of that game, and I would imagine that their playoff hopes are just about over.
Yeah, the Flyers, major letdown last night. They had a couple chances to win the game, but their playoff odds basically have plummeted, I should say. So we can move on from them, although they'll still be fun to watch down the stretch at times. If I get back up to your comment about Elijah Moore, last night felt like to me the first time the Eagles made a move, Mike, that suggested they're going to keep A.J. Brown. Every other move they made up to this point was kind of like indifferent about A.J. Brown. Like they didn't, adding Hollywood Brown is not replacing A.J. Brown. He could be a slot receiver. It's not that big a deal. You have guys they've added on defense. It doesn't impact A.J. Brown. You could make an argument that hiring Sean Mannion was more about Jalen Hurts than it was A.J. Brown. But Elijah Moore was the first time the Eagles made a move, and you're like, now that's a guy who's here because of A.J. Brown. And that's the first sign that I've gotten that A.J. Brown actually has a legitimate chance to be here next season, even though...
Or is it their last-ditch effort?
To maybe get him to come to...
No, is that the Eagles' last-ditch effort to say, hey, AJ, because many people are saying the Eagles don't want to trade AJ. It's that AJ doesn't want to be here.
Right, and of course the reporting from Albert Breer and Jeff McClain was that A.J. Brown's people have already talked to other teams about, trying to find the grass on the other side of the fence where it's greener.
And it was an interesting way of saying that. Were you trying to say the grass isn't always greener on the other side?
Well, I was trying to paraphrase the way Albert Breer and Jeff McClain said it.
Gotcha. But was this the Eagles saying, listen, AJ, he wants to be traded. We don't want to trade him. It doesn't behoove us to trade him. What can we do to keep him? Let's go get his friend.
Or what can we do to help him understand that when he comes to OTAs and minicamp and training camp, that we've done everything we can.
That's another story, though, that we really should touch on. Will he show up at the mandatories?
Right.
If he's still on the roster, because let's say they can't trade him until after June 1st, or they don't decide to not
Which
trade
is
him.
the majority of the reporting out there.
If he doesn't show up for the mandatory mini camps, that could be your first clue.
Now, mandatory minicamp this year is after June 1st. So
the mandatories are.
Oh,
I haven't seen the date yet. I'm sorry.
The voluntaries are, April and May. There's that whole cluster of random dates they have.
So then we won't get that information.
But, guys do show up for voluntaries, even if they don't have to. So,
Yeah, but if he doesn't show up for voluntaries, that's normal.
right. It's kind of like, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. If they had a mandatory mini camp, and I thought they usually had one, I guess it's right in that range right there.
Right.
Now, if he's still here after June 1st and they still haven't traded him, and then he doesn't show up to that,
then we have a whole nother conversation. But I think that Elijah Moore is here in part.
that's a pretty that's a lot of pressure on Elijah Moore. And then what happens if the Eagles say,
Hey, Elijah, we're signing you to make A.J. Brown happy.
Or, thanks but no thanks, you didn't make the team.
Well, like, for example, if they trade A.J. Brown, is Elijah Moore automatically getting cut, or does he still make the team?
Well, that's why this signing's very interesting. Did they sign him because he's friends with A.J. Brown? Did they sign him because they think he can replace A.J. Brown or be a part of the group that replaces A.J. Brown? So there is something here.
Because remember, look at the offense the Eagles are bringing in. This conversation that we had last week when I was filling in for you, Mike, which is Sean Mannion comes from an offensive system that doesn't need a number one receiver. The Packers, before they got Puka and Cooper Kupp and with the Rams, these teams like Kyle Shanahan, they don't need a number one receiver. They function great with the number one receiver because they're smart coordinators and coaches, but they don't need one. So you could argue that the Eagles are collecting players in case they do trade A.J. Brown, and they can say, hey, we got Hollywood, we got Devontae, we got Dallas Goedert, we got to throw the ball to anybody.
That's the theory is, and I talked about this a lot during the Super Bowl run, after the Super Bowl run, I guess you should say, for Seattle. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba, but they don't have another receiver that is eye-popping. They made it work with a player like him in Jigba. They had Kenneth Walker Jr., the third, and they had a good running game that complemented with, but they didn't have.
Well, they also had, remember them acquiring Rashid Shaheed was a huge add to their team because then.
But Rashid Shaheed is a more specialized player. He is more of a deep threat. He's not a.
But they needed that guy.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. The Eagles have Devontae Smith. Then you go out and get Hollywood Brown. So are they saying, we can make our offense work even without A.J. Brown? And are these the pieces that they're bringing in to set that up? Or are they being brought here to complement A.J. Brown?
Maybe both. Maybe they're planning for ball scenarios.
Well, and that's the interesting part about this whole situation. So 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Get involved that way. We have another chance for you to qualify for those Phillies tickets to Baltimore. Today's your last day to do it. We will be live at the Anchorage tomorrow in Summers Point. Why don't we give you a chance right now? First 5 people that text the word Phillies, your name, and where you're from to 609-403-0973. Here's how it works. First 5 text messages with the word Phillies, your name, and where you're from, you're entered to be at the party tomorrow. Now, everybody can go to the party, but you got to be on the list to win the tickets. So you can show up, wear your Phillies gear, come watch the game, but you got to qualify. You got to enter to win those tickets. And right now, first 5 text messages with your name, where you're from, and the word Phillies. We'll contact those 5 people, give you all the information for tomorrow's live show at the Anchorage in Summers Point. We're just getting started. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. When we come back, the Phillies have set their 26-man roster. What are they lacking? What are they missing? What didn't they add? Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City joins me next right here on the Sports Bash. All right, 2:31. Tomorrow it is opening day. The Phillies, of course, setting their 26-man roster today. We'll get you the details throughout the show. If you're watching the show on YouTube, the roster is streaming on the bottom of the screen there, so you can read the 26-man roster. No surprises. Crawford is in. Painter is in. But I want to get to Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, who's on his way to an opening day today as well. And, Mike, the Eagles a couple of years ago, when they had that disappointing season, they fired the offensive staff, the defensive staff. They said the coaching was the problem for that team, so they fired the coaches. The message this offseason from the Phillies to you was what? What was the problem last year of why they didn't advance? Did they have a message for you, or did they just kind of blindly try to get through this offseason and get back to where they were a year ago?
No, I think their message was twofold, and they kind of tried to have it both ways, right? They told us, and I believe this, that they were right there with the Dodgers. You think back to those 4 games, the 3-0 lead in Game 1, the tying run at second base in the 9th inning in Game 2 with nobody out, and, of course, the Game 4 loss, 2-1 in 11 innings on the Ryan Kirkland throwing error. So they tried to sell you that, hey, we were right there with a Dodger team that won its second straight World Series, and they were. At the same time, they did make some what I think are pretty substantial changes. They handed the center field job to a rookie. They added a rookie to a starting rotation. They made over the bullpen. It's almost completely different than the bullpen from opening day. And I don't think this is getting enough notice from the fans. They added Don Mattingly, a former major league manager, a guy with baseball credibility, a former manager of the year, as the bench coach. So I think their message is 2 things. Hey, we were right there, but they certainly didn't stand pat. Now, what the fans think, I don't know. The fans don't seem to be ready to give Phillies the benefit of the doubt, judging by their reaction to this Harry the K's and the analog clock debacle that I guess has broken out over the last couple of days.
Well, Mike, the one thing you said, I tend to agree, because when I look at what Philadelphia said in the offseason, it was, man, the difference in that series was their bullpen versus our bullpen. Because I asked the question, did Shohei Ohtani beat you? No. Did Mookie Betts really beat you? No. Did Freddie Freeman really beat you? No. They might have had a big hit here or there, but when did those big hits occur? In the bullpen. And their bullpen shut you down, and your bullpen was not good enough. So I think the Phillies said, if we can improve our bullpen, we're every bit as good, if not better, than that team. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair, except this one point. The Dodgers were able to use – they have so much a wealth of pitching talent, especially starting pitching talent, that they were able to use those guys out of the bullpen. So a guy like Sasaki came in, who hasn't been able, by the way, to throw a strike all spring, was dynamite in the playoffs and in the Phillies series for the Dodgers last year. Tyler Glass now coming in the bullpen. So I think, yeah, the bullpen was the difference. The question is the Dodgers cheated a little bit because they're so talented and have so many talented arms that they were able to use some of their starters in those key roles. The Phillies bullpen, more traditional relievers, although I think it'll be better this year. Johan Duran for a full year. The Phillies haven't had a closer like this since Jonathan Papelbon, and I think it'll be interesting to see what Keller does in that setup role.
Well, Mike, you brought up Keller. I wanted to ask you about him because normally a setup man doesn't get the headlines, but isn't that the Phillies' big-time move this offseason? It doesn't get a lot of headlines. It's not getting a lot of attention, but is Brad Keller possibly the difference?
Yeah, he could be, because, Mike, you're talking about shortening the baseball game now. If you're the Phillies, right, it's to play a 7-inning game. If we're up after 7 innings, we're going to Keller, we're going to Duran. We should be able to win that game, and if we get in trouble in the 7th inning, we're going to go to Alvarado. We might go to Tanner Banks and go to another guy there. they're trying to shorten the game. That's what modern baseball is all about. Shorten that game, give the other team less opportunities to score runs. Shorten that game to 7 innings. So, yeah, again, much like the Mattingly edition has kind of gone under the radar this spring, I think the Keller edition, again, as you point out, might be one of the biggest off-season additions for the Phillies.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Now, obviously, this Phillies team is very similar to the team we saw last year. The Mets, on the other hand, they made a lot of changes, and there's been plenty of debate. Are the Mets better than the team that did not make the playoffs last year? So for you right now, and obviously Atlanta, they think they're involved. How do you look at those three teams in the National League East?
Yeah, fascinating. I'll take the Mets and Phillies first. To me, the Mets and the Phillies are two of the most fascinating teams in all of baseball. And I'm not just saying because, obviously, we cover the Phillies and the Mets are close by. I look at the over-under totals, and I see the Mets at 90.5. I see the Phillies at 89.5. I see the Mets slightly ahead of the Phillies as far as favorites to win the World Series. I think it goes something like, I looked the other day, I think it went, it went Dodgers, I think Yankees, Seattle, the Mets, and then the Phillies. The Mets are fascinating to me. No Pete Alonso, no Brandon Nimmo, no Edwin Diaz, but the addition of Bo Bichette and Peralta, are they better than they were last year? Be fascinating to watch. The Phillies kept their core together while the Mets sort of blew it apart. For the Phillies, and I think I'm writing a must-win about this for tomorrow. For the Phillies, I think a fast start is imperative. I think they got to sort of get rid of the hangover of the Dodgers series last year. I think they need to give themselves some breathing room. I think they have some players that if they get off the slow starts, I'm talking to you, Bryce Harper, might be under some pressure. I think the manager, if they get off to a slow start, especially with Mattingly sitting there, and I know Mattingly said he doesn't want to manage, but he still is an ex-big league manager on that bench. If the Phillies struggle in April and May, boy, I think you're going to hear some, it might be an uncomfortable situation for Rob Thompson. So I think the key thing for the Phillies, and start tomorrow. Start with 8 innings from Christopher Sanchez and a Johan Duran save, a couple of hits from Crawford and a Schwarber home run. The Phillies need to get off to a fast start. The Braves, to me, I don't know, Mike. I'm afraid to say that their time has come and gone, but they just can't seem to get out of their own way. I know they have good players, but the injuries seem to be mounting, especially on the pitching side. Strider's now down for a month, I believe, with an oblique. So the Braves, I don't want to write them off because since 1990, I've been writing the Braves off only to wake up in October and see them in the postseason. But I don't. Maybe time has passed the Braves by. So interesting story for the Mets. Fast start, a necessity for the Phillies, and the Braves. Maybe they don't have it, but I'm afraid to say that.
Well, they have had some injuries. Spencer Strider hurt yet again for Atlanta. We'll see. They do, of course, get Ronald Acuna back. They've got Austin Riley still over there. Matt Olson. The Braves should be much bigger factor than they were. And don't forget, the Marlins have gotten better. They've quietly started to build something down there with players that you don't know as much about. Maybe they're the fourth team, a little spoiler in this one as well. And when you take a look at this National League, Mike, you've got the Dodgers again, you got the Padres again. I think you're going to probably have the Brewers again. The Cubs are going to be in there again. It is a very competitive National League, which means it's not a fait accompli that the Phillies even make the playoffs this year, is it?
Yeah, I mean, again, when I look at that over-under number, right, and the Phillies won 96 games this year, why are they at 89.5 this year? And which way is it going to go? Because 89.5 is kind of a unique number. Anything above 89.5, and boy, we're off to the races. That's a great season. 89, anything below 89.5, you're struggling. Maybe you get in as the 16. So I kind of wonder, what does Vegas know that we don't know when they set that number at 89.5? And again, I really think it's a turning point season for a lot of guys on the Phillies. I know the narrative was that this year that the Phillies were running it back. And yeah, you look at the number of guys on their roster. I think of the 26-man roster, I think 10, 11 of them are new guys. So technically you can't say they're running it back. But most of us know what running it back means. The core of the team is the same. It's been the same core since 2022. I think this is a key year for a lot of guys in that core. And I think if they go under 89.5, you're not going to have to worry about running it back next year. There's going to be changes to that core.
Well, you mentioned the manager, Rob Thompson, and obviously, he's not the most popular guy, but he has led this team to 96 wins, a World Series appearance, and 4 straight playoff appearances. But you think a slow start could put him on the hot seat, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think I do. I think he's one of those guys, right? Just like Harper did not have a quote-unquote Dave Dombrowski elite type of season, Rob Thompson made a lot of decisions in that Dodgers series, and a lot of them, there was sound reasoning behind each one. But it seemed like all of those decisions backfired against him. So, again, I think he's a guy that sort of needs to shake off the rust or the smell of that Dodger collapse. And I just think if they get off to a slow start, Mike, you can say anything you want to me. But Mattingly is sitting there. They added an ex-big league manager to the bench. You know, if the Eagles have a bad season coming up again, and they add an ex-football head coach as, Sirianni's offensive coordinator, what are we going to think about the future of Nick Sirianni? I have no reporting about this. I have not talked to anybody about this. I'm just saying in my own mind, boy, if the Phillies are struggling or under 500 at the end of May, the beginning of June, considering what has happened in the playoffs the past few years, I can't help but think that people and fans and media are going to start asking questions about the manager's future. So that's why I think the Phillies are fascinating. They've got to get off to a good start. And, Mike, you play 162 games. You never want to say that opening day is a must-win, but a win tomorrow would not be a bad start.
All right, Mike McGarry for the President of Atlantic City. So I saw a little story about the Atlantic 10 wanting a permanent home. You said they had a permanent site. They walked away from it for Brooklyn. What about piggybacking the A10 and the MAC? The MAC this year went from March 5th to the 10th. The A10 was from the 11th to the 15th. Could Boardwalk Hall bring back the A10?
Well, I guess if you put it like that, the dates worked out, and then, of course, you'd move the state wrestling to the last weekend in February. So what a great sort of 3 weeks that would be for the Atlantic City sports scene and the casinos and the hotels in Atlantic City. If you had the state wrestling followed by the MAC tournament, followed by the A10 tournament. I don't think it's going to happen. I think maybe the A10 tournament, on top of the MAC tournament would be too much for Atlantic City. But again, I thought it was peculiar when they made that decision, the A10, and at the time, Temple was in the A10, St. Joe was in the A10. Of course, you had a lot of Philly schools in that A10. It seemed to be Atlantic City seemed to be the perfect place for it. They left to go to Brooklyn and the Barclays Arena, which I never understood because there's only one college basketball tournament in New York City in March, and it's the Big East. And I don't care if you're giving away free tickets to the Atlantic 10, and you were going to match the 1975 Indiana against UCLA Abdul-Jabbar in 1967 and put 2 grammar school teams at Madison Square Garden and tell them they're playing for the Big East title. The grammar school game is going to sell out and draw 10 times more people than that Atlantic 10 matchup. So, again, it's almost like people don't appreciate what they have when they have it, and I think the A10 is sort of paying for that now, and I think that's the reason why the MAC likes Atlantic City so much.
Well, I think that would be fun to have them back-to-back or run them in conjunction. I know the women's tournament for the MAC is here. I don't remember. Was the A10, were the women here?
No, it was just the men. And when you think back to that A10 tournament, that was really, you had Dayton here, Xavier, like I said, Temple, St. Joe. there were some really, really, high, mid-level major teams. And for the life of me, it seemed to be the perfect place for them. Why they walked away, and I just find it rich, and that's why I kind of tweeted out last night that now the new commissioner of the A10 says, hey, we got to find a place, find a home that we can cultivate and call our own. Well, you had it.
Well, he's
and you
not
walked
wrong,
away
though.
from it,
He's not wrong. He wasn't in charge at the time. He might be saying, now that I'm here, we got – because I looked at where they've been. They've been a nomad here. They were in Brooklyn for 3 years. Then they were in D.C. and Pittsburgh and Dayton and – they're back in Pittsburgh now. Then they were back in Brooklyn. I mean, they've been all over the place. So I don't know. I thought that was I thought that would be fun to have them here back to back. We'll see if the powers that be are listening to this conversation, and maybe we get a little something from that. All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Where are you on your way to today?
Actually, high school baseball kind of begins in earnest today. As I look down at my car, I see it's 53 degrees, and it's sort of sunny out, so we'll take that for March 25th. I'm headed over Holy Spirit hosting EHT as the high school baseball season gets underway. Great time of the year. Be high school baseball today, Phillies tomorrow. Exciting time of the year. Always feel good when baseball starts up again. It's like our friend is back for another 8 months.
Mike has his high school baseball preview up at pressofatlanticcity.com, so check that out as well. All right, Mike. Thanks, bud.
All right, Mike. We'll see you down the road. Thanks.
All right, there he is. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. And, of course, baseball is back. High school baseball, Major League Baseball, college baseball. Love the baseball season being back here. All right, on the other side, our poll question today, it's up at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. Simple. How many wins this year? The over-under, 89.5. I looked at many sports books. Almost every one of them has 89.5. How many wins? Your choices are 100 plus, 95 to 99, 90 to 94, or less than 90. Vote right now at Mike Gill Show, and we'll give you the results, the early results, on the other side. That's next. This is the Sports Bash. 253 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we're going to be live at the Anchorage tomorrow. You could stop on out and see us live at the Anchorage for the Phillies watch party. Opening day stuff. You're just looking for a place to watch with some Phillies fans. Stop out tomorrow, the Anchorage. We're going to be giving away Phillies Orioles tickets for Camden Yards. Poll question, here we go. Opening day tomorrow. The sports books have the over-under for the Phillies at 89.5. How many wins for the Phillies this season? Josh, what's the leader right now? The choices are either 100, between 95 and 99, between 90 and 94, or less than 90. What do you got?
I mean, my guess is what I voted, which is I think it's probably going to be that 90 to 94.
All right. Right now, 50% is the leader in the clubhouse. 30% is second place. And less than 90 wins is 12%, and 100 or more only 8%. Here we go. The leader at 50%, between 90 and 94. So over the Vegas number, but not as many as last year. Coming in second with 30% right now, between 95 and 99. Less than 90 wins, 12%, and over 100 wins at 8%. You can keep voting throughout the show at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. We'll revisit this later on in the show. Boy, the odds just took a little shift here. As I'm talking, people are voting, and everything just kind of got out of whack all of a sudden. We'll update it again later on during Nuggets. We'll update it after that at 5:45. Check us back. More Sports Bash coming up. On the other side, it is the early Nuggets. Nick Earnshaw joins us for today's Nuggets coming up next. Right now, I need caller 6 and caller 7. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and caller 7. You are entered for this year's Phillies watch party at the Anchorage in Summers Point. You must be present to win, and one lucky winner will leave with a pair of tickets to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. You'll get round-trip transportation to and from Baltimore, a pair of tickets, lower-level seats on the Phillies side of the field at Camden Yards in Baltimore. You must be present to win tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point for our Phillies opening day watch party. Caller 6 and caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. Good luck. Just after 3, as we start the 3 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning. Your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation. Call 609-390-3907, online, broadleys.net. By the way, I've seen the votes are coming in for the future sites for the Super Bowl. Looks like Vegas is getting the Super Bowl again coming up in a couple of years. So it'll be L.A. next year, then Atlanta, then it looks like it's going back to Vegas. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening there. I had heard a couple of other cities in the mix, but I wouldn't mind going back to Vegas. I feel like I went to Vegas a couple of years ago and didn't see anything. I saw less in San Francisco this year. I mean, I went to San Francisco and didn't even see the Golden Gate Bridge.
It's tough. Listen, I got out there early. I got to see the Golden Gate Bridge. Billy's cousin took us on like a world tour when we got there. Picked up Grayson and I. We had a free Uber going around. We got to see the bridge. We got to go down that crazy street. It was outstanding.
Saw nothing out there. Now, when we went to Vegas, I saw very little as well. I barely hit that strip at all. So I wouldn't mind going back out there in a couple of years, and this time putting a little bit more focus on looking at the town.
Yeah, look, I didn't get to go to Vegas, so I would look forward to going to Vegas if that were the case. You know, I would love to do that. I haven't seen Vegas. I haven't been there, nothing.
Oh, really? I had never been there before either. That was only the first time. I said, well, I went, and I don't feel like I saw anything.
Yeah, you had Schweim doing your running around that year. I did not go out that year. It was when I was first getting to be a part of the station.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to miss out on Vegas.
Well, they're having and by the way, they're having the breaking news today. The owners are voting to explore Vegas and Seattle as the expansion cities for the NBA as well. So Vegas, man, I'll tell you what, I'm not sure that Vegas is able to support 3 professional sports teams.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. You got the A's going out there. They're in the midst of making their stadium ready to go in a couple of years. So a lot going on in Vegas. A lot of teams moving there. Oakland, nada. Zip, zero. No teams left there.
We were talking about that when we were in San Francisco. Can you imagine you grew up in Oakland, you're a fan of the Raiders, the Warriors, and the A's, and now you got nothing. Now you got nothing.
You got zip, zero. You got the San Jose Sharks. They're the closest hockey
you got
team.
The Warriors, but now they're not
in San Fran.
Right. Now you got to go over to San Francisco to go watch them. That's rough, man.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that was a beautiful building, to say the least, that the Warriors playing. That new one, I did say, it might not be no Oracle, and I know they have a lot of history with Oracle, but man, that new arena was spectacular, Mike Gill.
It was very nice.
All right, here we go. Let's get into these Nuggets for a couple of minutes. An early edition today of the Nugs. Here we go. Let's respond to your poll question, Mr. Mike Gill. Opening day tomorrow, the over-under total for the Phils, 89.5 wins. How many wins will the Phillies have this season? 100 plus, 95 to 99, 90 to 94, less than 90 are all of the responses. And right now, I am with the majority, 90 to 94 wins at 53% at the moment on the poll question. I think the Phillies get, I would say, 93 wins this season. I know you brought up the argument about the bullpen being much better this year. We went over last year's bullpen and this year's bullpen heading into the season, much better this season. There's question marks, though, like we talked about yesterday. I think they're going to still find a way to win 90-plus games. This is still a very talented roster. I know everyone's a year older. Everyone's starting to get into their 30s. It's the back end of everybody's prime. I understand that, but there's still a really good pitching staff. The bullpen's improved. And listen, it's not like this is the worst offense in the world. They just don't show up when it matters. So I think they get 93 wins this season. They're going to be very competitive.
Well, if I'm putting my vote in, and I did, my vote would be in the 95 to 99 range.
Wow.
I think they win more games. Listen, I said yesterday, they won 96 last year. Why are they worse? If anything, they're better. I mean, so they won 96. The team should be better this year. I look at the bullpen as a significant upgrade. I mean, I don't know how anybody could watch Jordan Romano and think that Johan Duran isn't a significant upgrade there.
Well,
and just that swap, just that one swap, how many games does that save you? Now, forget the fact that you got Brad Keller here. He was not here last year. You have Alvarado here. He got suspended in May, so you didn't have him for May, June, July, August, in pretty much most of September either. You didn't have Alvarado for 5 months. Keller, Alvarado, and Duran, significant upgrade. If the offense, even if it takes a step back a little bit, which I'll even play along, fine, they take a step back a little bit, that bullpen is significantly better. So I think I can find an extra couple wins. So I'll go 95 to 99. I'll go with the other 28% of the people.
You're not going to go 7%, have over 100 wins for the Phillies, not the 7% there?
Put it this way. I'm closer to the 7% than I am the 12%.
Oh, it just changed. It's 6% now. 6% for 100 plus. It's updating as we go, as we speak here on the Nuggets. Guess what?
I would say I have a better feeling. I would rank them 95 to 99, 100 plus, 90 to 94, less than 90.
All right. Here's the problem with that. Okay, this is why I think they'll have around 93 wins and in the 90 to 94 range. What is Adolis Garcia going to give you in right field? Much better defensively, I think. Outstanding. Also, is Justin Crawford going to come up and tear the cover off of the baseball, hit a lot hit for contact, a ton, get on base, etc.? Is that going to happen? Question mark. Andrew Painter, is he going to return to what we all thought he can be after a disappointing season last year in AAA? You also lose Ranger Suarez. So you take him out of the mix in the rotation, and what Zack Wheeler will return this year. Those are a ton of question marks. I don't think everyone's going to be positive, bright sunshine, beautiful, outstanding, top of the line, big stats. If they are great, then you prove me wrong. But I think somewhere in there, something's not going to go the way you planned for. And what is Bryson Stott going to be? We talked about that yesterday. Is he going to be able to elevate his game this year in the platoon over at second base? What kind of year are you going to get from Harper? Are guys going to take a step back? Schwarber not in a contract year. Trey Turner. I don't want to sound doom and gloom. This is only a couple wins we're going for here. But I'm just saying, I think they stick around 93-ish wins this season because there's so many other question marks and things that have to continue to go right.
I don't have a problem with anything you just said. But the thing I would answer with is, I don't think any player on this team, Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, none of them, I don't think any of them have such a significant decline that the offense just implodes on itself. This is still a top 10 offense in the league last year.
Sure. And you have to stay healthy. That's another thing. Our guys going to start.
Anytime you're doing some sort of preseason prognostication, health is always, a part of it, which, is
guys
obvious.
Missing games. Guys are going to miss games. It's 162. You're going to have a couple of injuries. Guys get banged up.
If you have a major injury, that changes the whole outlook of everything. Like if they lost Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, and you say, well, you said they were going to win 99 games. Well, I thought they were going to have those guys. If they lose them, I have to now adjust my take.
See, I go with the mentality of, I think some guys are going to get banged up, miss some games here, cost them a few games here.
I don't disagree with that, but how many is that? You're telling me half a season, 3 weeks, a full season? Like, I don't know how long the injury is. I can't account for that.
90 to 94 should be at the top of your list. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
The one big thing is this. You have a contract season from Bohm. How much are we factoring in the fact that, hey, for the first time, Bohm has something to really kind of play for? Does anybody say, you know what? I think Bohm takes advantage of that opportunity. I always hear Bohm stinks, Bohm doesn't do anything. But this is the first time that Bohm has a chance to cash in for the first time ever.
Yeah. And he's probably going to bat in the 4-hole, which is not ideal for the Phillies once again. So how does that affect Harper, Schwarber, all those guys? I know he hits a ton of doubles. I know he can hit for contact, but he hits for literally no power.
Well, my point is, if he's in a contract season, what if this is finally the year that he does kind of come through?
Man, do I hope you're right. And do I hope he hits them out to where the old clock used to be. Okay? And that leads me into nugget number 2. I don't know if you saw this. John Middleton. They released this whole thing last night, the new Hall of Fame club, et cetera, what's new at the ballpark, all that good stuff. And Tim Kelly from On Pattison, I think, captured one of the greatest ownership videos, question and answer of all time. I want to play the clip regarding a question of the clock that was replaced with the All-Star logo at Citizens Bank Park. Here is what John Middleton had to say about the return of the clock out in the outfield. Take a listen.
Honestly, I'm telling you, if you asked the 3.375 million people who came to our ballpark last year, how many of those people do you think would know that clock represents the clock on top of the right field scoreboard? I mean, seriously, 5%? 10%?
But do you think the nostalgia of it having been in this stadium for 20 years, people miss it?
The world changes. You know, new people, you get new fans, new customers. You know, people. There are younger people who look at that and say, "Why is that there? I've got my phone. I don't need a clock. Why is it there? Who cares?"
Now, if you don't know what John Middleton, Phillies managing partner, is referring to, it is the analog clock out in the outfield that has been replaced with the All-Star Game logo. Now, a little backstory about the clock. And only in Philadelphia are we talking about clocks on the radio and our owner getting asked about it. It's just unbelievable. So it is an ode to Shibe Park and Connie Mack Stadium. On the old scoreboard at that particular stadium back in the day, it had an analog clock, and that was the ode to that particular time. It's supposed to be, it's Citizens Bank Park, supposed to have a little bit of a historical feel to it. That's why the clock was out there. They have, however, gotten rid of it and put the All-Star Game logo there. And it became a gigantic uproar because of that video last night on social media, went mega viral. People were freaking out about John Middleton's answer regarding replacing an analog clock that most people even nowadays don't even know how to read an analog clock. I have and this might be unpopular, I have no problem with John Middleton saying what he said last night. He had a little bit of wine in him, and somehow the wine did not fall out of his cup, and PG thought this was the greatest thing of all time. I mean, they were going back and forth on the Twitter X platform, and it was just unbelievable the amount of discourse that this damn clock has gotten. I understand it's a historical thing, but guys, I understand you don't want everything to be a billboard at CBP, but my goodness, this one I think was a little over the top. I see where he's coming from in this respect, and you got to make a little money.
I don't even know that I remember that the clock was out there. To
Thank
be honest
you.
With you. Now, I don't even know what's in its place now.
The All-Star Game logo, they replaced and put the All-Star Game logo because it's going to be here this year, and it was asked, is it going to return?
So instead of the Roman, it was Roman numerals,
yes,
right?
Roman numerals, analog, yeah.
So it's just are the numbers gone and the logo's just over top of it?
Whole clock is gone. The logo replaced the clock. So the thinking is, they'll just put the clock back. He's not going to put the clock back in that position, and people are all upset.
I'd have to see pictures, and not that I care at all, but I'd have to see the pictures of what it looks like, what's replacing it, and all that stuff. I know he was asked about the whole Harry the K's, and then he got into this we paid his widow some money, not a lot of money, enough money that we need to buy napkins, but not play a player. So I guess the money they're getting to replace Harry the K's, he said, that we can get a player with.
Correct. So, listen, I understand people being upset at the Harry the Case thing. That's fine. The clock thing. Do you know how many views that piece of audio we just played got on X? 598,000. That's how viral that piece of audio went. And he had a glass of wine while saying all those phrases right there. And it was just going back and forth. And he didn't spill a lick. That might have been the most impressive thing about that piece of audio. He's going back and forth, swaying a little, had a couple adult beverages. He's got the wine in hand. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. That is an all-time video. All-time.
Yeah, I
only in Philly. In Philly.
I was laughing last night looking at this. I said, this is a piece of work here. This guy with a wine spillage all over the place.
The blazer
talking
on.
About by some, broadcasting games back in the day, and they don't do anything to honor him. And maybe I was like, what is this guy talking about?
I'll tell you what. God bless the Phillies PR department today, because when you go back and you kind of listen, maybe I shouldn't have said that. It just sounded like he had a couple of glasses of wine.
Well, what are you supposed to tell the guy who owns the team?
I can't believe how viral a video and an answer about a clock went last year. I mean, only in this city. That's what makes it great. That's what makes it so fantastic. I understand it has the historical significance. Listen, I'm a Philadelphia A guy. I got lineage. I got lineage with the Philadelphia A's, okay? And Gotti Mag and all that at Shy Park, okay? The clock can go. It's not going to hurt. You'll be fine. You'll still be able to watch the Phils. CBP's still there. I think we could do without the clock going forward. I think we'll be all right.
I would not recognize that clock. I mean, now that you're saying it like a little bit, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to mind that it's gone. Although I will say at Baycare Ballpark down in Clearwater, they put the new scoreboard up in right field this year. They moved it from left to right, and it was kind of like left center. It used to be out there in left center. They got a much bigger one out in right field. It was nice. It was a nice addition.
Yeah, I think people were just a little upset that there's a lot of ads, a lot of advertising going around the ballpark, a lot of new. It's supposed to feel a little historical at CBP. I can understand the argument. However,
I saw a picture.
Sometimes, all right.
I saw a picture. I think John Foley posted it of the first year of the ballpark. Did you see that picture?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Whew, a lot different.
A lot different. It's changed. People aren't particularly fond of change at times. So there you go. There's my rant on the clock. John Middleton, not bringing back your clock. I'm sorry.
Well, I'd like to change in my ticket price, but they're saying, they got to keep charging. They got to find more ways to keep the ticket prices down and more players.
Yeah, he's not going to gouge you like you would for the Joan Duran entrance. He's not going to gouge people that way.
Take my idea. There's more money for you.
It's not going to do it. All right, final nugget. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. Tyrese Maxey. I mean, you guys just turned into an absolute superstar, okay? He was on the Tonight Show.
You know what's funny? Last night, I never watch these shows generally at all.
No, neither do I.
I'm flipping through last night. For whatever reason, I stopped to watch one of them. And then I was like, okay, the guest was, I can't remember who. But then I was like, well, who's the guest on one of these other shows?
Yeah.
And I saw Tyrese Maxey, and I'm thinking, what the hell is Tyrese Maxey doing as a guest? What show was he on?
The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Yes, he was on the Fallon Show.
Yeah.
I said, what the hell is Maxey doing as a guest on one of these late-night talk shows? So I have not watched – I'm not a big late-night, talk show, or I'm not usually even up that late anymore. Sadly.
Yeah, I watch the YouTube clips every once in a while. So I want to ask you this. Out of the three, who do you think the biggest star is? Out of the three guests you had last night, Cardi B, Alex Earl, or Tyrese Maxey?
I don't know who Alex Earl is. Is
that
a male or a female?
That is a female.
Okay.
She is and she's from Jersey.
It's an ambiguous name.
Yes, she is. She is from Jersey. She's a gigantic TikToker.
I mean, Cardi B is pretty big.
Yeah. So Tyrese Maxey's probably the third most notable on that list.
Yeah, no doubt.
What
was he on there promoting?
He is New Balance shoe.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. They're that low on the totem pole of guests that they need Tyrese Maxey to promote a shoe?
Yeah. Listen, that's what happened. I was starting to see it too. I was like, Tyrese Maxey on the Tonight Show. He was the out of the three, and you didn't even know the one. I'm glad you knew Cardi B. I'm glad you knew who that was. So
I do know Cardi B.
Yes, know Cardi B. All right.
I was watching who the hell was I watching last night? I don't even know what made me flip to. I was literally because I never watch any of these shows.
He was great. I'll tell you, he was great. I watched it again this morning. He was great. I thought he did a good job. And, guess what? Tonight, Podcast P returns. Joel Embiid, questionable as of now. I mean, hey, it's going to run here. All right?
Yeah,
Flyers not so much.
I'm looking at I'm feeling that Embiid will probably play tonight, according to Adam Aronson,
Sixers
our buddy
Adam
from Philly Voice. He said, Sixers Adam, yes, he said that Embiid was at the shoot-around today wearing the blue jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, don't get excited. Don't get me excited. Don't get too excited like Tom McGinnis, all right? It's going to run here. Everyone's getting healthy at the right time.
By the way, just a quick little update on the standings, which are last night the Sixers got more help because Orlando lost for the sixth straight time. The Sixers are one game behind Atlanta. They are a
Yep.
game and a half behind Toronto for the 5 seed, and they are currently 1 game ahead of Orlando, Charlotte, and Miami.
Yes.
All those 3 teams, Orlando, Charlotte, and Miami, are all exactly 38 and 34, and Philadelphia is 39 and 33.
Sixers got the Bulls tonight. On Saturday, the Hornets, and then one of those teams, they have the Heat on Monday of next week.
Yeah, they play the Hornets and the Heat. So
Yep.
both those teams are directly with them in the play. And it looks like Joel will play tonight. Paul George is back tonight. And by the way, Quentin Grimes is also due to be back tonight as well.
Clap your hands, Mike. Clap your hands. Let's go on a run here. They're the Nuggets.
There you go. All right, there you go. And by the way, speaking of the Sixers, Michael Kasky-Blomain will join us on the other side from the Trust the Mikes podcast and 97.3 ESPN.com. All right, early Nuggets today. See what the poll question is one more time before you get out of here. See if it's updated since this conversation. Oh, it's taken a big jump. 54% say 90 to 94. 27 saying 95 to 99. 13% say less than 90, and now only 5% are giving them over 100.
All right. There you go.
All right,
We're in the
we'll update
lead.
that again later on in the show. Thanks, Nick.
See ya.
All right, Nuggets will be live with us tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point, so stop on out. We'll do live Nuggets tomorrow right here on the Sports Bash. All right, speaking of the Sports Bash, we're live at the Anchorage tomorrow, as we said, in Summers Point. You can win tickets to see the Phillies play in Baltimore, Camden Yards, and we want to congratulate our first hour entries. That was Paul in Millville, Ken in Cape May Courthouse. We'll see Paul and we'll see Ken over at the Anchorage in Summers Point. Guys, wear your Phillies gear tomorrow. Get yourselves ready to watch the Phils tomorrow. It's Christopher Sanchez, Nathan Eovaldi going for the Rangers. I drafted Eovaldi last night in my fantasy. I got a good pitching staff, I think. Had the 10th pick last night, a little Gunnar Henderson. Followed up with a little Julio Rodriguez, me and Julio, down by the schoolyard. Got those 2 guys. Got a little Nate Eovaldi. I got to cheer for Freddie Peralta this year. A lot of strikeouts, though, for Freddie Peralta. And what was my other pitcher? I thought my pitching staff was pretty darn good. I got Eovaldi, Peralta. Who was the other guy that was pretty solid? Man, isn't it funny? You draft these guys one day and then you forget automatically. Zach Gallen, Logan Webb is pitching tonight. Logan Webb was my ace. So Logan Webb, Nathan Eovaldi, Zach Gallen, Freddie Peralta, Shane McClanahan. I'm taking a big shot that McClanahan's going to come back as an ace this year. So there you go. Had the 10th pick. The old double disco on the way back. Actually, there's 12 teams in the league. But, you hit the 10, then 11, 12 gets 2, then 11, then right back to you. So you're quick. You got to be quick. Not as quick as some of the people were last night. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man, it was brutal. It was brutal. All right, coming up, Bert Kreischer, Friday, April 3rd, Saturday, April 4th at Ovation Hall at the Ovation Hall Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Get your tickets now for Bert Kreischer, comedian, at theoceanac.com. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, Lenny Kravitz takes the stage at Ovation Hall Saturday, May 16th. Don't miss Lenny Kravitz live in Atlantic City. Get your tickets now. TheOceanAC.com. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Sixers tonight. They take on the Bulls. Listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. Bulls are pretty much out of it. The Sixers are one game up on Magic, Hornets, and Heat. They are one game behind the Hawks, and they are a game and a half behind the Raptors. None of those teams are adding a Paul George and Joel Embiid. The Sixers are. What does that mean for the Eastern Conference race? 97.3 ESPN.com, host of the Trust the Mics podcast, Michael Kasky-Blomain, the real MKB, is back. What's going on, MKB?
What's up, Mike? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, we've both been away. You were away. I was away. Yeah. And now we come back with 10 to play. Paul George is back tonight. Will he have Joel Embiid with him? What do we know about that?
Yeah, Mike, he's Joel's still listed as questionable on the latest injury report, just dropped right before I hopped on. Either way, he's obviously trending in the right direction, hasn't played yet in the month of March. The fact that he's listed as questionable obviously shows you that he is moving toward a return. Even if it doesn't happen tonight, it's probably going to happen obviously in the very near future. But that door is still open tonight, Mike. I think we'll get a final word from Nick Nurse at probably around 5:30 before the game starts.
Right, usually then. But he was at the shoot-around today wearing the blue jersey, usually a sign that he will be in the starting lineup tonight, along with Quentin Grimes, who also has been out with an illness. So it looks like, outside of Maxey and Oubre, that this might be the healthiest they've been since 25 games ago when Paul George went and got himself suspended.
Yeah, Mike, reinforcements are on the way. And like you said, obviously, Oubre and Maxey probably aren't too far behind. I think there's optimism that both of those guys can rejoin the lineup sometime before the end of the regular season, definitely before any potential play-in or playoff game. So, it is trending like the Sixers are getting healthy at the right time, potentially, Mike, for once.
Yeah, for once. But realistically, Michael, what do we think about Paul George playing these last 10 games, possibly Joel? There is a back-to-back down the stretch, so I imagine Joel probably doesn't play all 10. Can we realistically say, hey, they're healthy at the right time finally?
I mean, yeah, cautiously, Mike, obviously, which is always the case. You have Joel coming back from an injury issue. Paul George talked to us yesterday at Camden and basically said that the suspension was almost kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave him some added time to, rest that knee that had been bothering him, some other kind of aches and pains that had popped up. He said he feels really good physically after the long layoff and is ready to hit the ground running. Joel obviously hasn't played now in almost a month, so he should be, feeling pretty good physically in terms of at least the knee. We don't know about how the oblique is feeling. But, yeah, Mike, I mean, this is a Sixers team that's only a game out of the 6th spot still in the East. They would love to move up and, avoid the play-in. And if not, if you have a full-strength Sixers team for a play-in tournament game, I think they would feel, pretty good about their odds in that situation.
Michael Kasky-Blomain, the podcast Trust the Mics for the for the Sixers playoff run here down the stretch they come. I don't know about you. They're currently in the 7th spot, which would be in a play-in spot. The winner of that game would play either Detroit or Boston. Moving into the 5 spot would match them up with Cleveland. If you're a Sixer fan, are you hoping to land in that 6th spot? Is a matchup with the Knicks the best case scenario, or is there a different team that is a better fit?
Yeah, it's tough, Mike, and that's the problem. The Sixers have dug themselves in a little bit of a hole, and no matter what, if they do sneak into the playoffs, it's going to be a tough first-round matchup. I don't know that the Knicks is the best thing. I think the Pistons right now, obviously a little bit vulnerable with Cade Cunningham out. The Cavs looking better. Like, there's no matchup on paper, I think, that the Sixers, you would say right in a way, like this is a great matchup for this team. I think the Knicks and the Cavs are probably the two that you're looking at, and you give maybe a puncher's chance if Joel is available and Maxey is back. But it's going to be tough, no matter who they draw in that first round, Mike.
Yep. As you just said, they dug themselves a hole here, and realistically, you get Joel Embiid back. I don't know that anybody even has any anticipation of what he might do, but the whole thing the last couple of years is to get him to the playoffs healthy. Does this qualify for you?
It seems like it's been a little tough going because, of course, I mean, the lack of updates from the Sixers, as has become customary, Mike, I think that's been a little bit frustrating. They've just been ruling him out game by game, but he should be good. I mean, that knee has now had a lot of time to heal. Other injuries, an oblique strain probably should be not something that lingers too much longer. Like, he is getting into this postseason healthy. Same with Paul George. Like, it was a roundabout way to get there and probably not how they drew it up. But at the end of the day, like, if you have those guys healthy, I think the Sixers feel like they have a shot against any team. From a fan perspective, I think there's a reason to be cautiously optimistic that, hey, if Joel's out there and Paul George is out there and Maxi's out there, that, you know, they have enough high-end talent to compete with any team in a series.
Well, what do you take away, Michael, from the I mean, I was actually surprised that they went 13-12 in the 25 games without Paul George. And you figure 13 of those 25 games, they also did not have Joel. So you had no Joel and Paul George for 13 of the 25 games. I don't know, are you encouraged by that or don't read a lot into it?
On paper, it's impressive, Mike. It didn't feel that impressive throughout the stretch. I'm not going to lie. Like, on a nightly basis, it didn't feel like they were overperforming necessarily. But the fact that they were able to tread water even without Paul George, without Joel for a lot, without Maxey now for the last, few weeks of action. I think we saw some other guys step up. Obviously, Quentin Grimes probably played his best basketball of the season. VJ Edgecombe played with the ball in his hands a lot more and got acclimated to that role a little bit more. Justin Edwards. So, there was some positives during this stretch that I think that they could use and lean into a little bit moving forward down this stretch. And the fact that they're still in the playoff picture, Mike, is, I guess credit to Nick Nurse and the team for hanging around and giving themselves a shot down in these final weeks of the regular season.
Do you anticipate Maxey back before the regular season ends?
Maybe for like a game or two, Mike. I think he's out until, the beginning of April. He's supposed to be reevaluated. I think they'd like to get him a couple games under his belt before a potential play-in or playoff game, but not many. So maybe, the last couple games of the regular season, I wouldn't be shocked to see him out there, but not too much more than that.
Michael Caskey-Blomane from the Trust the Mikes podcast. You can check that out on all podcasting platforms for the playoff run here for the Sixers. 97.3 ESPN.com covers the Sixers. Long time covering the Sixers, and, of course, they play the Bulls tonight. And the Bulls are a team that are kind of in weird – They're kind of tanking, but they're not mathematically eliminated yet at this point. So kind of a tricky spot here because we've been seeing some of these teams. The Pacers won a game the other night that was a big help to the Sixers. Orlando has just kind of fallen off the map here. But they got this game tonight followed by the Hornets and the Heat. This is almost like you've got to have this one.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. This is a must-win game down at this stretch of the season. And the Bulls are basically, like you said, they might not be mathematically eliminated, but I think they are, they can be counted out. I think they're like 9 games behind the Heat for that 10th spot in the play-in tournament. So they don't have much to play for, obviously, at this point in the season besides pride, which, carries teams sometimes, like you said. But I think this is a game, especially it's at home. You get Paul George back. Obviously, if Joel comes back, there's really no excuses. This is a Bulls team that, like you said, they were sellers at the deadline. They're playing a lot of younger guys, kind of straddling like a rebuild phase. So, yeah, there's no excuses for the Sixers not to have this one at home tonight against Chicago and Philly, Mike.
You can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, they play the Hornets on Saturday, and they play the Heat will be next week on Monday. So you got the two teams right behind you in the play-in standings on the schedule this week. Coming up, you can listen to those games on 97.3 ESPN. Saturday's game will be on Rock 104.1 with the Elite Eight here on 97.3. All right, Michael, well, a lot going on tonight. Big game. We'll see if Embiid is back. We know George is back. Looks like Grimes is going to play. Oubre, what's the latest on Oubre? We have any new news there?
Cryptic social media post that he had up yesterday, Mike, that seemed to hint that he's trending in the right direction. I think Nick Nurse basically said as much, that he is, moving in the right way from the elbow injury he's dealing with. He'll be back before the end of the regular season, Mike. I don't know exactly when, but he's trending to be back soon for sure.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that as well because Oubre would be a nice addition to get back. Hey, listen, I don't know, can they get 5 games together? Maxi, maybe not, but can they get a little group of games heading into the playoffs? We shall see. Listen to all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, MKB, we'll talk to you, man.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, MKB, Michael Kasky-Blomain, the Trust the Mics podcast. All season long, we've been talking Sixers on Trust the Mics. You can check that out on all podcasting platforms. We'll have a new edition episode coming out here next week for the end of the regular season for the last 3 weeks here. We'll see. All right, coming up. By the way, some news in the NFL before we get to today's unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Have you seen the story of when the NFL season will start? For the first time ever, the NFL regular season is opening up on a Wednesday night. The world champion Seahawks will open the season on Wednesday, September the 9th. That is because the Niners will play the Rams in the first ever NFL regular season game in Melbourne, Australia on Thursday. The game will be in Australia at 10:30 in the morning, and it will be on here at 8:20 at night. So the world champion Seahawks will open on Wednesday night. It has been tradition that the world champions open on Thursday night, but now this season it will be on Wednesday.
For those who are wondering, the last time this happened was 2012. The NFL moved the start of the season when the Giants hosted the Cowboys. The last time the Giants won a Super Bowl, they moved it to a Wednesday because the Democratic National Convention was Thursday night.
There you go. So they're Wednesday night kickoff this year will be the world champion Seahawks, the Niners, and the Rams on Thursday night. So a couple nuggets on the schedule are starting to drop. And we don't know when the NFL schedule will be released, but when it does, of course, we'll have it for you right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, when we come back, it's today's Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. Stick around.
we have the villain. We have the super team. We have the relevance. I think baseball, whether it's the automated strike zone this year, I understand that there's labor negotiations on the horizon that could get ugly. I get all that. But I think that baseball's in a really good place because of the fact that the Dodgers exist. We have the team that everyone has an opinion on.
Evan Cohen on Unsportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Is he right? Of course he is. Sports are better with the villain. The Dodgers are now becoming that team that you want to hate. Sports needs a team that you want to hate. Baseball was better when it was the Yankees. Well, the Yankees have dropped the ball. The Dodgers are picking it up. Football had the Patriots. You need the villain. You need the team that everybody says, you can't beat them. Everyone's gunning for them. College sports used to be great when they had the big brand names that you only associated with winning. One of the problems with college sports now is those brand names are no longer associated with winning. North Carolina, they fired their coach. Does anybody know the coach at Duke? Yes, I know they're good, but it's not Coach K. There's no brand name in John Shire. Come on. The Dodgers are what sports are all about. David versus Goliath. They are the Goliath. Baseball needs it. The difference is, are they an unbeatable Goliath? Are they such a Goliath that it's just not even fair? Well, last year would say, of course not. Phillies had them on the ropes. Toronto had them on the ropes. It's not like they just buzzsawed their way through these playoffs. They got pushed. You know, when was the NBA great? When they had Michael Jordan. When the Jordan Bulls were winning every year, you wanted to see whether or not someone would finally take them down, and they never did. And nobody ever did, and all we ever say was, that was the best time we ever saw. We'll never see anything like that again. Even the 73-win Warriors couldn't win the title. But the basketball was better when the Warriors were the Warriors. Now we get this watered-down Warriors, and they keep shoving them down our throat. We got a Lakers team, which actually is not that bad this year, and they keep pushing them at us. No. Evan Cohen's right. The Dodgers being dominant is helping baseball grow and get bigger, and it's making it, quite frankly, there's a lot of people looking at where baseball is going and what is happening. The problem is they have a lockout potentially on the horizon here. The momentum of last season in the World Baseball Classic, you know how many people watched that WBC final, Josh?
A lot.
Do you have a guess? Did you see the answer?
I did not.
Because you cheated yesterday. We're not going to let you get away with it this time.
Listen, just because I happen to be lucky and broken clocks right twice a day doesn't mean that I was cheating.
Okay, what would your guess be on how many people watched the WBC Classic final between Venezuela and the United States of America?
7 million.
7 million. It's a good guess. It is way off.
It's only a good guess because I got it wrong.
Well, seriously, 7 million is a lot of people. That's not how many people, watch a normal game.
Right, a normal game is 1 million.
You know how many people watch that game? 11 million. 11 million people watch the WBC championship game in a made-up tournament.
I would like to know, and I hate even saying it this way, but if it wasn't Venezuela, let's say it was Japan, or another team like Dominican, would the number have been bigger?
It's fair to say. I mean, Venezuela, although, if you hadn't heard, the United States and Venezuela recently had a little discourse. So that could have added to the situation, I guess. But you're right. I mean, Japan is they're all great baseball countries. The DR obviously sends a ton of players here to the States in the majors. So does Venezuela. Japan, not as many, but still a great baseball country, and was the defending champion. So 11 million people watch that.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So baseball's momentum is all going forward.
To me, it's like a wrestling analogy. It's the idea that the World Baseball Classic was such a great WrestleMania Now you can parlay that into the rest of the calendar schedule, which happens to be the baseball season.
Well, it all starts tonight with the Yankees taking on the Giants on Netflix. Don't forget the Netflix game of the week. No, they only have one game this year, right? They have the home run derby.
They have the home run derby.
Something else,
They
maybe?
have something else, too, yeah.
But the one and only game, it's the opening game on Netflix tonight, Yankees and the Giants. All right, we got football at 4. The Eagles have made a couple of signings. What's the messaging behind those signings? Jeff Mosher joins us in 6 minutes. But first, I need caller 6 and I need caller 7. This is one of your last chances to enter for our Phillies watch party tomorrow. Now, party's going to be great, but someone's walking away with a pair of tickets to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Here's the number. Caller 6 and caller 7. Right now, we're going to enter you if you dial 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and caller 7. You must be present to win tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point for our annual Phillies opening day watch party. Wear your Phillies gear, come on out, cheer on the Phils, and one lucky winner wins a pair of tickets, round-trip transportation to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck. Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you by our friends at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Don't forget, Atlantic City Restaurant Week is transforming into Taste of Atlantic City, presented by Visit AC. Taste of AC will be a month-long culinary celebration happening this March that will showcase the city's diverse and vibrant dining scene. The event will feature fixed-tiered menus and exclusive food-focused experiences for both locals and visitors. Check out 3-course prefix menus at Ocean's participating restaurant, Amada, Linguini by the Sea, and Ocean Steak for only $60. Book today at theoceanac.com. All right, we got a lot happening today, but first, I want to congratulate Sean in the Villas, Scott in Turnersville. They will be live tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point for our Phillies watch party, and they have a shot now to win tickets to see the Phillies and the Orioles at Camden Yards. Right now, joining us for another edition of Football at 4, Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast and PhillyVoice.com is here. What's going on, Jeff Mosher? It's a Wednesday, and Howie Roseman continues to shape this Philadelphia Eagles roster.
Yeah, and I got a bone to pick with him. I wouldn't mind if he made all these moves a little earlier in the day, not at 8 o'clock at night.
Right? The laptop is put away, and then all of a sudden, there's a move, there's another move. You got to start banging out stories. Let's talk about the first move. Fred Johnson is back. Good move. They needed that last year. He was on the team in 2024. He then got a free agent deal to go to Jacksonville. Wasn't working out for him. The Eagles bring him back, and that was a big addition for them last year, so they signed him to come back, and that kind of solidifies their swing tackle position.
It does. I think it does. Obviously, Fred wants to be a starter, and he tried to be one for Jacksonville last year. It didn't work out, and he was in free agency for after starting several games this year. He was in free agency now for what's about almost 3 weeks, and obviously didn't get what he was looking for in terms of being a starter. So he'll come back to the Eagles. I've had questions, Mike, about the body type that the Eagles are going to be looking for on the offensive line with a new offense where they might be prioritizing people who move laterally and horizontally more so than road graders, big maulers like Fred Johnson. But at the same time, it's not you know how bad offensive line play is in the league. If you think you've got a good backup and he can play in your offense, or even if he's not a perfect fit, but he's a good enough backup, you want to sign that kind of guy, especially if he's been in your organization, because they're just not, they've tried other guys for depth last year. Remember, before Fred, they had Kendall Lamb and Matt Pryor, and Lamb didn't even make the team, and Matt Pryor didn't play well. It's hard to find. A couple of years ago, they had Nick Gates as a center guard, never really played him, even though he had some starting experience. So it is hard to find capable. It's hard to find starting offensive linemen, but it's also hard to find good sixth and seventh guys.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm glad you went right down the road I was going to follow up with was, hey, now you have a new offensive line coach. Does a Fred Johnson fit here? And, a lot of these guys had the success, because Jeff Stoutland got the most out of them. I think this is a complete unknown now. You're bringing back a guy that you feel kind of safe and warm and fuzzy about, but you now don't know whether or not you're going to get what you were getting from him. Because, look, he went to Jacksonville, and they said, I don't know what they saw in this guy.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. Jacksonville basically just wasn't going to start him. And when he didn't become a starter there, Jacksonville felt okay trading him to the Eagles because they were getting compensation. It's very possible they would have.
But true or false, the reason they go get a Fred Johnson is, well, he plays for Philadelphia. He played a lot there. He's got to come here and be better than what we have.
Sure. And he wasn't better than their best two tackles, but he could have easily been their swing tackle. But who's not going to trade a backup offensive lineman for picks like the Eagles were willing to get? Even if it's day 3, you're getting something for a backup offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jacksonville, so to talk about fit, under Liam Cohen and Grant Udinsky, the offensive coordinator, that is a Sean McVay disciple group right there. And Udinsky has also been with McVay and Shanahan style guys. So Fred was at least practicing in that style of everybody has their own version of it, but I imagine some outside zone was a big part of that. And so Fred probably got a little bit of an indoctrination into it there.
All right, well, Fred Johnson's back. That's move number one. Then they go out and get a wide receiver, Elijah Moore. Now, this is a guy who had talent, second-round pick. Had a couple good seasons, 100 targets 2 years in a row. This is a guy that, it's not like he's been a stiff. He's had some good years. Last year he goes to Buffalo, a wide receiving starved team, and he really doesn't do all that much. He ended up in Denver last year and didn't appear for them. Now he's in Philadelphia. He's also very close with A.J. Brown. Is this because they like the player and the talent, or are they trying to smooth things over with A.J. Brown?
Yeah, I'm not sure this has anything to do with A.J. Brown being on the team, more so than that, they need depth at the position, whether they have A.J. Brown or not. I've been talking to you about this for a while. They really need a guy who's to me, a natural slot wide receiver. Now, he has played slot and outside in his career. So I don't want to just say he's just a slot receiver, but he has played there and played well there at times. Now, this is last chance for him because, as you just mentioned, he was with the Bills last year and caught 9 balls and didn't even make it through the year. They got rid of him to get Brandon Cooks, who actually played well. So the fact that, then he went to Denver and they didn't play him at all and they could have used some help shows you that, as Adam and I always say on the podcast, the league tells you what it thinks of these players by the contracts that it signs or the availability. So he's on his last legs and, the Eagles will give him a chance. But this is not an area, to be fair, where the Eagles have really thrived and flourished. These veteran guys going back to Devontae Parker or Paris Campbell or John Ross, or even, to be fair, Jahan Dotson for a 3rd-round pick did not give you the type of production. Now, it might not be his fault. I'm not trying to put that all on Dotson. He was the 5th guy in the pecking order when all was said and done. But the point is, the receivers have not come to Philadelphia and rehabilitated themselves the way they were hoping to. So I can't say I sit here and have a whole lot of faith that Elijah Moore is going to rediscover himself here.
Well, and then I guess the follow-up is, let's hypothetically say that A.J. Brown is traded. Is an Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown, Devontae Smith group of receivers, is that a good enough room?
I mean, what do you think? First of all, I don't think that would ever be the rule.
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're bringing these guys in, are you bringing them in to be prepared for the possibility of trading A.J. Brown or to complement A.J. Brown?
I mean, like we've said, both, because the Eagles are very top-heavy at receiver. After, let's say A.J. Brown's here. After A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, with Dotson now no longer here, what do you have? You have Darius Cooper. You have a punt returner in Britton Covey. You have Johnny Wilson, a 6'6" receiver who was used as a blocking receiver. It's not like you've got a ton of bodies there, and you do have 2 wide receivers, who can either be brittle or hurt. I think you just needed bodies there regardless. But now, yeah, especially if you're going to trade A.J. Brown, the need for more bodies is there. But if you're going into week 1 of the season and your top 3 receivers are Devontae Smith, Hollywood Brown, and this guy, Elijah Moore, I don't think that's really going to inspire a lot of confidence.
I agree.
And I also think that wouldn't happen, by the way.
What do they think of Darius Cooper?
They like him. They like him a lot, Mike. They played him immediately. He made the team, which was already half the battle for a undrafted rookie. And then they were playing him in the slot, by the way, on run down. So they were just trying to get him involved in some form or fashion. When you're a rookie free agent who makes the 53 and you're out there like that quickly, even in just a package, right? That just shows you that the team believes in you, wants to get you reps, wants to be able to find a usage for you. And so I would imagine that's going to continue. He's not a prototypical slot receiver. And if A.J. Brown's not here, I bet you he'll start taking reps on the outside. He's strong. He's 210 pounds. He's kind of built like A.J. Brown, although I'm not making any comparisons. But I thought he was a really interesting find, and I'm very interested to see in year 2 how his development comes along, because it could be. I wrote this story on, I don't know if that's why you asked, but I wrote this story on Philly Voice yesterday about who will be the next version of Reed Blankenship for the Eagles. Reed Blankenship was the next version of TJ Edwards, right? An undrafted free agent who actually emerges over time into not just a good player, but an impact starter for a good team. Yeah. Could that now be Darius Cooper? That would be an excellent story for them.
Yeah, that would be interesting. He definitely opened eyes in camp, and then, of course, he didn't play much. And then, as you just chronicled, towards the end, they gave him a little bit more burn. But, as you said, there's just not a lot of targets for these guys in this particular offense. So I don't know how that changes, but you now have Elijah Moore. You now have Hollywood Brown. They like Darius Cooper. You brought back Goddard. What is your thoughts now moving forward on a Tanner McKee trade? I know we talked a little bit about this on Monday, but is that kind of like the next thing, or are they focusing on trying to land an edge rusher? Like, where are they in trying to now that next move? Is there still something big they need to do?
Yeah, well, what we've reported on Inside the Birds is that they don't feel like they have to trade him, or that they even really want to trade him. They want, as always, every year, they want to have a backup quarterback that they feel really good about, who can step in and win games if the starter goes down. And they prefer to have that guy at a decent cost and not having to pay him. Remember when they had Nick Foles as a backup and he was making a lot of money? And then that's what led to them drafting Jalen Hurts, this idea that you really want to cost control. You don't want to, they dedicate so much money to their starters, and then everybody else makes so little money that they're really trying to do this thing to have as much cost controlled talent as they can. And right now, Tanner McKee is that for them. But Howie knows business better than anybody. He enters the last year of the deal. And so if someone's willing to give them a high enough pick to make it worthwhile, then that's why you have Andy Dalton here now. He can slide into that number 2 spot. You can draft another developmental quarterback. But what you'll have to, if you're Howie Roseman, what you have to measure is, you might get like a 3rd round offer, 4th round offer. You have to measure, well, is it better to take a 3rd round pick now for this draft, which might be, you might find be fair value, or hold on to Tanner McKee, have him potentially help you win a Super Bowl if that's how far you go, because he has to go in and play a couple of games for an injury. And then you're going to wind up getting a comp pick the following year, because he's obviously going to leave after next year and sign what probably will be a good enough contract to at least get you a 4, right? Depending on what kind of contract he signs. So you have to weigh the idea of getting maybe a higher pick now versus a lower comp pick, but another year out of him and that important role of helping you win games. And then also the X factor is, and I got to throw this in, I'm not trying to, disrespect anybody, but they're running a new offense here. You imagine Jalen Hurts is going to do fine, or be at least as good as he's been the last few years, if not better. But there's a chance that it doesn't work, and he's going to make a whole lot more money with his cap. This is a big year for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And if he falls on his face, or if he suffers an injury where he's out a long time and it might be career threatening, well, then you have to decide like what you're doing with him. And then you've got Tanner McKee. So there's all sorts of things that Howie would have to weigh there with Tanner.
Let me ask a question about A.J. Brown real fast in terms of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't trade A.J. Brown, like let's say you don't trade him, there are precedent that you can get a 1st-round pick. That 1st-round pick likely will not come until next year. What do you think the value of him is 1 year later?
Wait, I'm sorry. You're saying if you don't trade A.J. Brown, what about a 1st-round pick?
If you traded A.J. Brown after the draft, you're getting a 1st-round pick for next year.
Yep.
But if you don't trade A.J. Brown and you hold on to him through the season, what kind of value does he have playing another season here? Does that lessen? So do you take the 1st-round pick when you can get it, or do you have him play here, maybe try to trade him next offseason, but the value is what?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough hypothetical. Only because, I mean, we're sort of discounting the element of he may not really want to be here. And, you're talking about what if you just have him on the team and playing here, and that might cause you all sorts of dissatisfaction, and he may.
So in your
You're
mind,
asking
is
about
that
his
the most
value, but
likely?
if he's not happy and he's playing the way he did in the playoff game, his value is not going to be very good because he's not going to be a very good receiver,
Exactly.
right?
But in your mind, is that the most? Is that where we are right now? That he just doesn't want to be here?
I think that's the most likely scenario, that he prefer to be elsewhere. Yeah.
So
now,
like-
if you said AJ Brown, your only option is to play for the Eagles or get traded for the Browns, I think that's a different conversation, right? Like, I don't think it's as cut and dried as does he want to be here or does he not want to be here. I think it's be like, well, what are my alternatives of where I want to be?
Right.
You obviously know how he feels about the Patriots. I don't think anybody needs to be alerted to the fact that he loves.
Well,
Mike
this whole
Vrabel.
Patriots thing is almost like when he got traded to Philly, and we were hearing about him and Jalen Hurts being these great friends. It's like, wow, who knew that these two guys were connected and such great friends?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the same thing with the Patriots. Well, I'm a Patriots fan, and all the Vrabel stuff obviously makes some sense. So, are you at the point too, still, where it's Patriots or bust?
I mean, there's always a chance another because if it's after the draft, the team that may think it's getting, like the Arizona State kid in the first round or something like that, or
not a great wide receiver class.
No, it's not a great wide receiver class. So, but there's always a team that thinks it can get a guy and doesn't get a guy, and then reevaluates the situation. But I would still handicap it. Yes, more likely the Patriots than anybody else.
All right.
Although,
so there you go.
If this Puka Nacua stuff, which is really crazy, I mean, now you see why the Rams were probably interested in AJ Brown with what's come out about Puka over the last 24 hours. And this is the second time he's been in the news for doing some crazy things. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the Rams will get back in or something.
Possible, right. And keep in mind, he was sued over some alleged anti-Semitic remarks. Apparently he bit somebody.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye on what's happening there as well. By the way, as we told you about a half hour ago, the NFL will be opening on a Wednesday next year. The Seahawks will play on Wednesday night. That is because the Australian game will be on Thursday at 8:10, and that game will be played in Australia at 10:30 in the morning to be able to be on television here in prime time. It'll be the Niners and the Rams in Australia. The Seahawks will play on Wednesday night to kick off the season, and that was just announced a little while ago. By the way, the tush push is not on the vote this year.
I'm actually a little surprised. I know how the big sarcastic comment is, well, it didn't work for the Eagles. So, and very fair to say that, the NFL was hypocritical about this from the beginning. I always felt the play was going to get outlawed, but apparently I was wrong about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl again, I'm sure, and that was the reason why it probably wouldn't be around.
I would think so. It'll be interesting if they're successful with it this year. Does the NFL have the audacity to bring it back up? I mean,
that would be ridiculous.
I know, but the NFL is ridiculous at times. So,
all right, Jeff Mosher, of course, check out his work over at phillyvoice.com, and of course, all the Eagles coverage, Inside the Birds, InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Andrew DeCecco's here tomorrow. Adam Kaplan's back on Friday. Have a good weekend, man.
You too. Talk to you on Monday.
Jeff Mosher's back on Monday for football at 4 here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and, of course, live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube, 973 ESPN on the X platform and on YouTube. You can watch the show live, subscribe to get an alert when the show goes live. So, Mosher's talking about the A.J. Brown stuff, and it could happen at any moment, most likely after June 1st. But my scenario was, what if the Eagles keep him? What's his value like next year? Probably not a first-round pick. Now he's a year older, the contract's less, all that stuff. So the team says, we only get one more year of him. We're not going to give you a first-round pick now. So do you want to get the first-round pick and just bygones? Something to think about. Something you should be thinking about is my friends at the Branches Outreach. The mission at the Branches Outreach is to provide food, clothing, personal care items, and compassionate support to individuals and families experiencing homelessness in Cape May County. In the past year alone, the branch's outreach has welcomed over 10,000 guests into their outreach center. They have served more than 12,000 warm meals for those in need. So they can use your help. The branch's outreach is privately funded through donations from people like our listeners here on the Sports Bash. You out there, your support is needed year-round. I'm urging you to give support and donate today. Help my friends at the branch's outreach. Your donations, small and large, are needed and appreciated. Follow them on Facebook at The Branches Outreach to learn more. Check them out online at thebranchesoutreach.org. Coming up, we got so much more, including we just talked about Tanner McKee. But who needs a quarterback? We'll discuss coming up. 428, thanks to Moshe. Football at 4. We're talking Tanner McKee. Eagles have Andy Dalton now, so can they afford to trade Tanner McKee? How many teams actually need a quarterback? Right now, how many teams actually need a quarterback when you think about it? If somebody trades for Tanner McKee, they're probably trading for him to be their starter, right? I doubt they're going to just say, hey, we're going to go trade to get a better backup. I could be wrong about that, but we would see. But Buffalo doesn't need one. Miami signed Willis. New England doesn't need one. The Jets do, but apparently we're told they need a second-round pick, so backed out. Baltimore doesn't need one. Cincinnati doesn't need one. Cleveland probably needs one, but they have Deshaun Watson signed to such a ridiculous contract that they give him one more chance to try to win that job.
Well, the talk out of Cleveland is that basically they're telling Deshaun Watson to go away. They're paying him. They're just like, don't show up.
So they could use a quarterback then.
Well, it depends. Do you think that Shedeur is the guy or not? The way Monken talks about him, he acts like he is.
True. I mean, I guess they could say, hey, we got Sanders here, so.
Or do you bring in, like you mentioned with McKee, if you don't bring him in to start, you bring him in to compete, maybe.
Yeah. Are you giving up anything of value, though, for a guy who's maybe not even your guaranteed starter?
Well, considering the Browns are not that smart.
So that would be possibly one. Pittsburgh is iffy. You don't know what's going on with Rodgers.
Rodgers doesn't know what's going on with Rodgers.
So that would be a team to keep an eye on. So we'll go
Pittsburgh.
One-ish.
The Jets. Oh, the Jets said no.
I think the Jets are out. Unless they circle back and say, because they did trade for Geno Smith.
They did trade for Geno Smith, and there's speculation they could be interested in Ty Simpson.
Right, pick 2. So those 3 are all kind of flimsy. Right now, Pittsburgh would be stronger than flimsy. They have no quarterback. I mean, Mason Rudolph. Am I forgetting somebody?
Will Howard.
Yeah, jeez. That's kind of flimsy.
You said somebody. You didn't say it was good.
Houston, no. Indianapolis, no. Jacksonville, no. Tennessee, no. Denver, no. Kansas City, no. Vegas will be a no. Chargers, no. All right? So there's your AFC. They got no's across the board. NFC. Arizona.
That's a big one.
Probably would be a team to keep an eye on.
You do have a nice little history with Arizona, though, in trading quarterbacks.
Kevin Cobb.
Got a second-round pick. And don't forget, during that trade, you also got the assets that eventually landed you Brandon Graham.
It was a while ago. Just trying to, that trade happened on Easter of like 2009.
I think that was 2011. Let me double check.
Double check, as if like he single checked it this morning and then is doubling back to go see if he forgot from 10 o'clock this morning. I think it was 2009 that they traded McNabb on. It was Easter Sunday that they made that trade. So think about that. It's not Easter Sunday yet, and things could still be happening.
Cobb was traded in 2011.
Good. All right.
I can't believe I remember that.
So 2011, that's a long time ago. But yes, Arizona and Philadelphia did do a little business. So keep them on the list. That would be one. Rams, probably no.
No.
Niners, no. Seahawks, no. Atlanta, no. Carolina, no. New Orleans, likely not.
I feel like if they would have gotten McKee, they would have gotten him last year.
I
That's
agree.
when Kellen Moore went there.
Correct. Tampa, no.
No.
Chicago, no. Detroit, no. Green Bay, no. Minnesota, no. Dallas, no. New York, no. Philadelphia obviously has them. Washington, no. I only see 4 possible teams that would even somewhat need, and these are somewhat need, a starter.
Right. You can make an argument for, but maybe not a strong one.
Well, of all the teams I just said, even if they already have a starter, is Tanner McKee better than the starters that are out there?
That's tough because let me flip the question back to you, Mike. Do you think Tanner McKee is a starting NFL quarterback?
If he is, it's a low-level one. But I'm not all that impressed by McKee. I mean, I know people get excited. I went to the game. I saw him play live in person. He was very limited from what I saw.
I was there too.
Can he throw the ball? Sure. All these guys can. He can't move all that much. He threw the same pass over and over and over. I think teams would really game plan and scheme for him, and he would have serious limitations.
He has serious limitations, one. And two, the only way he makes sense for a team is if that team has an offensive coach who has a history of getting something out of a quarterback, right? But most of those guys already have quarterbacks in their stables. Your Kevin O'Connells, your Kyle Shanahans, your Sean McVays.
The only thing I could see is if somebody brought him in to compete, and there's really only one team that fits that mold in Cleveland, maybe Arizona to compete, but you're really going to compete with a veteran like Brissett? You're bringing him in to compete with a guy who's young like Sanders. That makes sense.
Right, like if he went to New Orleans, to use them as an example, and maybe Kellen Moore this offseason said, hey, I like Tyler Shuck, but he's not enough. I need someone to come in here and push him a little bit. That's a scenario I can maybe
I agree
see.
with that, but I think they, in that scenario, I think they want Shook to be the guy.
Right.
So I don't think they want to give up a second-round pick to push him.
Right. They would maybe give up like a fourth-round pick to push him.
So I think the price right now for McKee, according to reports anyway, Rich Cimini covers the Jets, I would think the asking price for Tanner McKee is probably a little bit too high to even consider if you're another team trying to get him. Now, if the Eagles lowered their asking price, does that expand the amount of teams? I don't think there's much more than 4.
Again, I think it goes back to what you just said before, that there's not a lot of teams that really need him. There's a lot of teams that have already kind of like solved their quarterback situations.
Yeah, again, we go through all the teams. The Jets were the ones. Now, this is according to Rich Cimini, speaking Saturday on the Huddle, on the Saturday Huddle, which I'm not even – do you know what that is? I guess it's a show that –
I think it says – isn't that show on ESPN New York?
It might be on 98.7 New York, or I don't even think they're on 98.7 anymore. I think it's 880 a.m. New York.
Whatever.
So Cimini said that the Jets called, the Eagles were looking for a second-round pick for Tanner McKee. According to Cimini, the Jets called Philly about trading for McKee before they got Geno Smith. They were told it would cost a second-round pick. So I would think the Jets are out.
Right.
They got Geno. They move on. We talked about Cleveland. They have Shador, and they also have the Oregon kid.
Dylan Gabriel.
There you go. So you let those two battle it out, and whoever wins, they get it. And the other guys. So they have someone to push each other, in other words. They don't need to give up assets. Pittsburgh is probably the only team in the league that currently does not have a starting quarterback definitively.
And the curiosity point is you mentioned not just Aaron Rodgers, but the Mike McCarthy of it. Mm-hmm. McCarthy doesn't have a great history of developing quarterbacks. So would he even want to bring in a Tanner McKee?
Is Tanner McKee better than Mason Rudolph? 220, 220.
I feel it's like, coin flip.
Right. And then Will Howard is the backup there currently.
I mean, Will Howard is very interesting. He was a guy that I thought could be a solid, average NFL quarterback in the NFL. But they haven't given him a shot out there. Now, is that because the previous coaching staff didn't like him? I don't know.
No other team in the AFC other than the Raiders who will draft a quarterback.
They'll draft a quarterback, and I expect them to sign
The only possibility, Raiders get a deal, an offer for the number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. They move out of that spot and then make a trade. I can't imagine that being the case, though. That's the only.
They seem pretty intent on drafting.
That's what I mean. But if somebody knocked their socks off to get number 1. Now, by the conversation we're having right now, nobody really needs a quarterback. Now, unless you were, let's say, Detroit, and you see the end of Jared Goff, or you were the Rams, and you're sensing the end of Matthew Stafford.
Right.
And you say, you know what? We love Mendoza. He's probably not ready to play right off the bat. Let's go up and get him. These are long shot possibilities. I don't see that happening. So I don't think any other team in the AFC outside of Cleveland, Pittsburgh, they're the only two teams I really think would even be able to pick up the phone and make a call. And in the NFC, Arizona, that's it. There's not another team in the NFC that doesn't have a starting. Every team has the starting quarterback, and they're all firmly entrenched. Dak, Dart, Daniels.
All the D names.
Right. What's his name? Kyler Murray just signed in Minnesota.
Right. Him and J.J. McCarthy will compete.
Love, Goff, and
Williams.
Tua or
Baker.
Penix. What'd you say?
Baker,
Shook, and Bryce Young. Stafford, Purdy, Darnold. The one spot would be Brissett.
Right.
That's it. So I don't see where the Eagles think they can get a second-round pick.
No, and at the end of the day, I don't think it's unfair for the Eagles to say we're not going to trade any of these guys, whether it's McKee or Brown or anyone else, without saying I want a certain value in return.
Jeff in Summers Point chimes in on the McKee. Says, Mike, he played with the backups that game. Not the game I went to. The game I went to, he played with Goddard.
He played with Goddard.
Yeah.
He played with he played with Dotson too, I think, in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 years ago. I wasn't at the game this year. It was the game 2 years ago.
The game from 2 years ago is when the hype started, because that was the game they ran like 12 bootlegs. They kept going to Goddard and
They threw the ball to
Calcaterra.
Goddard because, if you remember, Goddard had been hurt.
Right, it was his
so
first
they wanted
game back.
him to come back and get playing time. So they ran the same little bootleg play to him over and over. He's got a very good, accurate arm. Listen, everybody's got a very good arm.
This is the NFL.
He's slow.
I love when people say, this guy is a good arm. Well, I hope he would.
Jeff
He's playing in
George
the
had
NFL.
a great arm.
Jeff George had an immaculate arm.
A lot of guys get enamored by arm talent, all that stuff.
Remember Jamarcus Russell? People forget about that guy.
Yeah. Listen, if you like McKee, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not giving up a second-round pick for Tanner McKee, who was a sixth-round pick, by the way. And as I said before, he was a sixth-round pick. Last year, there were many teams that needed quarterbacks.
Yep.
Including the team that the Eagles' former offensive coordinator went to, who had no quarterback.
Yep.
And they got no calls for Tanner McKee. So apparently not as many people were enamored with what Jeff in Summers Point and all the other people texting in right now, which I figured would happen. Everybody loves the backup quarterback. And if you watch the game this year, McKee had a chance to win people over, and he failed pretty miserably.
Here's a question for you. Removing Nick Foles from the conversation, who is the best Eagles backup quarterback of the 21st century in your mind? Removing Nick Foles.
Garcia.
Because of the playoff run?
Not only the playoff run, I think he went 5-1.
Yeah, he went something like 6-1 or something like that.
Yeah, he saved that season. Like, if you remember back to whatever year that was.
I think it was 07.
He saved that year. That team was done. They were completely done. They got blasted by the Colts on like a Thursday night or a Sunday night, it was a primetime game. They lost like 42-6. And then Garcia took them on a run and then won a playoff game. It's a good question, though, because the Eagles have had so many backups come in. And A.J. Feely won some games, but I wouldn't put him in that conversation. Kevin Cobb had a couple games that got him traded for a second-round pick. You got Garcia. Vic was technically the backup, right?
By the way, so the Eagles were 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, 5-5 before he became the starter. Then he went 5-1
right
down the stretch.
And then they won that playoff game against the Giants. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. 609 403 0973. Mike McKee straight up for Josh Sweat. Win-win. I don't see that happening, but sure.
We could all dream.
Now, I'm not discounting that the Cardinals might look to get out of that Sweat deal, but I know that was something that was kind of murmured about. I think that was more of a hypothetical.
Yeah, it was a hypothetical with a couple of guys who have blue check marks. You don't look like they're actually real people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that makes a lot of sense for them.
But hey, if you can, if you can get Josh Sweat, I wouldn't be against it. I just don't think it's going to take.
I'd
Tanner
make that
McKee.
move in a second. You told me I'm giving up Tanner McKee
for Josh
for
Sweat.
Josh Sweat.
Where do I sign up?
Right. I've already, basically, I've traded for another quarterback, so I don't need to have Tanner McKee. I'm not devoid of talent at that position.
And there's a lot of speculation that the Eagles are going to draft a quarterback on day 3.
Well, either way, Josh Sweat makes this team much better defensively.
Way better.
They need an edge rusher big time right now. I don't know where they're getting one.
Do you buy into the Jonathan Grenard rumors?
I haven't really seen much of them. Like, I keep hearing that as the only name because obviously he wants a new contract. They don't want to pay him. But I'm not really seeing much of anything on the rumors. Like, what are they asking for? What's the whole situation?
I mean, the last thing I saw was that the Vikings wanted multiple picks for him. But those conversations have cooled.
And I don't know that the Eagles want to meet that asking price, I would imagine. So, all right, well, we'll keep it up because they definitely need, by the way, they need to get an edge rusher. That is something they just, I don't know, could they do what they did last year? Although, keep this in mind. They entered the season last year with Smith and Hunt.
Right.
1 week into the year, they went out and got Zadarius Smith.
One day. Remember, They beat the Cowboys. The next day, Zadarius Smith gets signed.
So they knew right off the bat they needed help. And then when he retired, they went out and got Jalen Phillips. So are the Eagles going to enter the season with basically a similar situation? Hunt, Nolan Smith, and Ebiketie, who they just signed last week.
I like the Ebiketie option. I think being a part-time pass rusher.
4:45. Stick with us. Coming up, we're going to be at the Anchorage in Summers Point tomorrow. That'll be for our opening day watch party. We're going to be giving away a pair of tickets to go see the Orioles and the Phillies at Camden Yards. Great ballpark. Great spot. Awesome area. Head down to the Inner Harbor. Head over to Fells Point. You're going to have all day to hang out in Baltimore. Then go to the game that night. Phillies, Orioles, bus trip. Listen for that contest sounder to go off, and you can enter. You have 2 more chances to enter on the radio. But if you're watching on YouTube, you got a bonus chance right now. For all the people watching on YouTube, the directions are on the screen on how to enter a opportunity to go see the Phillies play the Orioles in Baltimore. More Sports Bash coming up, 97.3 ESPN. 4:51 Sixers tonight against the Bulls. Listen to the game, 97.3 ESPN. We anticipate Joel Embiid will play tonight. That is not official, but it kind of looks like it, feels like it. He did participate in the morning shoot-around today. Paul George will play tonight. He is back from his 25-game suspension, so you are getting Paul George back tonight. Also looks like Quentin Grimes will play tonight, so we'll get Grimes, George, and Embiid back, and it looks like it'll be Justin Edwards and VJ Edgecombe will be the starters, and then we'll see what ends up happening with Joel. But it does appear that Joel will be back. Now, you going opening night baseball tonight on Netflix or Sixers?
Well, the good news is the Sixers start at 7, so I can watch Sixers for a while and then flip over to Netflix.
Which one are you more interested in? Like, for me, I will do a little flipping, but I'm usually zoned in on one. I'm not a big, back and forth flipper. Sixers game's on at 7. I generally will go Sixers until the end.
I mean, I would typically, in most cases, say the Sixers, but I am extremely intrigued by this Netflix baseball presentation.
Who's calling the game tonight?
That's the part I remember, actually. I got to look it up.
No, it's I thought it was Vescursion. Is he calling the game?
Is it Vescursion? I know they have 20 million
it's
cameos.
like Barry Bonds is one of the analysts.
The studio analyst, yeah. Because I know it's Al Duncan's is, anchoring and
Yeah, I forget who the analyst for the game is, but I think it might be Hunter Pence.
Is it Hunter Pence?
I'm not 100% sure. But Barry
I'm just
Bonds,
very curious
I know they're
about
bringing
the whole
back to
presentation.
be the studio analyst for the game. I mean, it's baseball. It's back. It's opening night. It's new. It's different. But I probably will be locked in on the Sixers starting at 7. I'll let that run to the end. And then at 9:30-ish, when that game's over, I make the flip over to Netflix and check out the last couple innings of the ball game.
Now, the good thing with Netflix is you can also rewind. So if you really wanted to, you can rewind it back to the start of the game and then just fast forward the commercials.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of guy.
I am that guy.
Yeah, I'm not. Once the game starts, no matter what, it could be any game.
See, I do that.
Phillies game, any type of game. I'm not. If the game has already started, I'm not watching the game in non-real time.
Yeah, that part doesn't bother me. But also, you're on social media way more than I am. So, I'm the kind of person where sometimes I even touch my phone for a quarter or two of a game or an inning or 2 or 3. I'll just be zoned in watching the game, or I'll have it on in the background while I'm doing something else. And then eventually I'll be like, oh yeah, my phone.
Well, by the way, tomorrow we will be live for the Phillies opening day. Now, tomorrow, the opening day for the Phillies, that is going to be on at the Anchorage in Summers Point. And we have a chance for you to be there right now. If you're caller 6 and caller 7, 609-573-3776, 609-573-3776, caller 6 and caller 7, right now, you are entered for our Phillies watch party tickets to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards in Baltimore this summer. The game is on July 31st. It's a Friday. You'll get round trip transportation, 2 lower level tickets to the game. You must be present to win tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point, 823 Bay Avenue. 2 more people right now. Next hour will be your final chance. To these 2 people, good luck. 609-573-3776. All right, 5:02. Phil's tomorrow. We are closing in on opening day. This time tomorrow, Phillies baseball will be back. We're looking forward to it. Some of the key questions for the Phillies as they get ready for the Texas Rangers tomorrow. It's Sanchez and Nathan Eovaldi, Citizens Bank Park. Got a couple more qualifiers. We'll introduce you to those guys in just a couple of moments. Last chance to enter for the Phillies-Orioles road trip. We're sending one lucky listener down to Baltimore, Camden Yards, round-trip transportation. You get deluxe motor coach transportation, lower-level tickets to the game. You'll be with Phillies fans for the whole game. They're going to be serving sandwiches and subs and pretzels and drinks for the ride to Baltimore. Plus, you get the day down in the Inner Harbor. The 2 tickets are lower-level sections between left field and third base on the Phillies side of the field, and we will award that tomorrow. You must be present to win tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point. You know, we came up with this idea a couple of years ago that for Phillies opening day, why don't we do something? They always play day games, and then we'll make it a whole party. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the party. The last couple of years that we've done it, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and people show up in the red, and the Phillies, and the bar is just overtaken with our listeners and our Phillies fans. And then tomorrow night you got the Sweet 16. So you got Phillies right into Sweet 16 tomorrow night. So it's a great night out. And William in Mays Landing and Brooke in Pleasantville, those two are going to be there tomorrow. We have one more chance coming up later on in the show for you to qualify. So listen for that opportunity today on the Sports Bash Live. You know, one of the things we're talking about with the Phillies, we got the poll question, and we'll ask that poll question, give you a chance to vote in it right now at Mike Gill Show. Phillies opening day is tomorrow. The over-under win total is 89.5. How many wins this season for the Phillies? These were your options. 100 or more, between 95 and 99, between 90 and 94, less than 90. And the voting has been shifting here and there. 53% right now say between 90 and 94, which is less than last year. 28% say 95 to 99, which is in the ballpark of last year. 12% say less than 90. And then 5.7% say over 100. So I could give a reasoning for each one, and we'll break this down a little bit later on at the end of the show, give you a chance to vote at Mike Gill Show. Go ahead and vote at Mike Gill Show on Twitter X, and we'll update the poll at the end of the show. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. So, you know, tomorrow we're going to be out there. It's the first game of the season. I wouldn't be shocked, by the way, if the Phillies actually got swept in this series. Now, you would say, what? Now, I think tomorrow the Phillies have the better pitcher, Sanchez against Eovaldi. But it doesn't mean that Eovaldi can't pitch a great game because the Phillies lineup could struggle. The rest of the way is Jacob deGrom or Aaron Nola. I mean, deGrom probably better than Nola is, right? And you don't know what you're getting from Nola. Now, you could say I don't know what I'm getting from deGrom either. But the two at their height, deGrom, Cy Young, Nola, a runner-up in the Cy Young, by the way, years ago. But deGrom injury issues. And then the third game, you got Jesus Luzardo against Mackenzie Gore. And Mackenzie Gore, a lot of people don't really, he's a young pitcher. Pretty darn good. Now, good pitching matchups all three games, but wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the day you're taking a look at something and saying, man, Phillies ran into three really tough pitchers. So we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, tomorrow we will be live at the Anchorage in Summers Point, getting us ready for the start of the Phillies baseball season here. As we know, now the lineup on Monday was the last exhibition spring training game. that is generally what the lineup will be for the game. So the opening day lineup, it looks like, is pretty much out. You got Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Stott, Garcia, Marsh, JT, and Crawford. That looks like your opening day lineup. The Phillies finalized their roster today. The 26-man roster includes 13 pitchers, 2 catchers, 6 infielders, 4 outfielders, and 1 DH. Of course, that is Schwarber. Crawford, Garcia, Kemp, and Marsh are your outfielders. Bohm, Harper, Moore, Sosa, Stott, Turner. That's your infielder. Moore actually can play outfield as well, so that's why he's here. He's listed as an infielder for their opening day roster, but he can play some outfield as well. He's kind of a super utility guy that plays all over the place. Dylan Moore. And then Marchand, JT Realmuto are the catchers. The Phillies did designate Garrett Stubbs for assignment, so essentially he now is free to go sign wherever he wants if he can find another job. If not, he will go down to AAA. And as we discussed in the mailbag the other day, Frank Close was explaining Garrett Stubbs' contractual situation and the amount of money that Stubbs, kind of unprecedented money for a guy who will be playing in AAA. So likely, if he can't land another team, he will go back to AAA. And it'll be interesting to see if they use him as a catcher down there. They do have catching down at AAA. They could essentially use that opportunity to have Garrett Stubbs kind of move himself around the diamond, if you will. Play a little second, play a little third, maybe play a little outfield, and then possibly Stubbs is useful down the road. Now, I don't care whether Stubbs play or not. I'm not one of those guys that needs to see Garrett Stubbs playing, and he's not a big, important part of this team. But that was the one conversation that many people wondered. Marchand did win the job last year. There was no reason why he wasn't going to win it again this year. And then, of course, you have the pitching. Alvarado, Backus, Banks, Luzardo, Meza as the left-handers. And then you've got the right-handed guys. Jonathan Boland's new, Johan Duran, Brad Keller is new, Aaron Nola, Andrew Painter, Zach Pop, and Taijuan Walker. So that's your Phillies 26-man roster. It is now all up to date. All right, Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. Let's take a look at, speaking of the Phillies, as we're getting ready for the season, the Phillies show with Todd Zalecki, Jim Salisbury, and Ruben Amaro Jr. They had kind of their preview show today.
Yeah, they went through a couple different topics. You were just talking about the lineup. So let's start with that. But the Phillies lineup, Alec Bohm is in the 4 slot, Mike. And the guys were kind of doing their Bohm 4 and Bryson Stott 5. And yesterday, Mike, just kind of bring it all together, one of your options on the poll question about storylines for the season was about Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott. Well, both of those guys came up during the Philly Show Bold Prediction segment. Ruben Amaro has a bold prediction, Mike, about Alec Bohm.
Alec Bohm is going to be voted top 5 in NL MVP voting. Wow. I think he's going to hit 300. I think he's going to drive in 110 runs. I think he's going to have at least 20 to 25 home runs this season.
I don't even know where to start with this one. And I might be Bohm's biggest fan of anybody listening to the show. But and I can't get on board with this. Now, the 110 RBIs, I did say that's the number I gave you yesterday. Can Bohm give you 110 RBI? I don't think that's far-fetched.
No, because he's done 97 twice.
He's hit 97 back-to-back seasons, so Bohm could drive in 110. Could he hit 300? I don't think that's far-fetched. I mean, Bohm is a guy who does hit for average. Now, 300 average, that's a tough one. I don't know that I see Alec Bohm hitting 300, but I could see him hitting 285. And if he hits 285 with 110 ribbies, does that even get you in the top 5? Even if he hits 20 home runs, which I think is far-fetched, by the way. Not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. That's being, too harsh. If he hits 20 home runs, that's not
MVP worthy.
No.
And neither is 110 RBI, by the way.
No, it would not be. 110, I'd like to see the top 5 MVP, like who were the 5 guys last year. I mean, last year, Bohm hit 287, so you're talking about 300. He's not even that far off from 300, and that's with Bohm getting off to a horrendous start. Bohm hit 11 home runs last year. 11.
So last year, here are the top vote getters for NL MVP. So Shohei Ohtani won.
Shohei Ohtani.
Now, Ohtani had 55 home runs, 102 RBI, 20 stolen bases, but Ohtani also pitches. So that's kind of like an anomaly.
Well, yeah, but the numbers you just gave me last year for his
55 homers.
Yeah, 55 homers. I mean,
102 RBI.
Mm-hmm.
Ohtani actually just led the National League in runs scored with 146.
Well, he bats leadoff for them. That's why his RBIs are a little down. Right. But it still had over 100 RBI. The 55 homers. By the way, Bohm had a better batting average than Ohtani.
Yeah, Ohtani had 282.
And Bohm had 287. All right, so he was 1.
Number 2 is Kyle Schwarber. He had 56 home runs, 132 RBI.
So 132 is an interesting number. So keep that. And that led the league, right?
That led the league.
Okay.
Number 3 was Juan Soto.
So Soto last year was the 3rd guy in the MVP voting.
He finished with 43 home runs, 105 RBI.
105, okay.
But he also had 38 stolen bases.
He also had 43 home runs.
43 home. He almost had a 40-40 season.
Uh-huh. So I don't think Bohm comes close.
Bohm's never having a 40-40 season.
No, but he could come close. Now, 110 RBI, so that's one number. But, okay, what was 4?
The next guy was Perdomo from the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
He finished the year much closer to Bohm's numbers that they were talking about.
The projected numbers.
So Perdomo finished with 20 home runs.
Okay.
100 RBI.
Ooh.
27 stolen bases.
That's a big difference.
A 290 batting average.
All right.
389 on base.
His on base, that's excellent. But those numbers are closer to what Amaro just threw out there.
Right. So that, if you go off of last year's voting,
that would put him in the top 5.
Because that's 4.
And then who's 5?
Was Trey Turner.
Really?
Trey Turner had the 5th most votes.
I did not remember that.
Trey Turner, as you know, or you might not want to know, led the league in batting average. He finished with 15 home runs, 69 RBI, 36 stolen bases.
Well, I'll tell you what. If he was 5th in the MVP last year, Trey Turner, that year that Ruben Amaro, Bohm's year would top that. 304. He said 300.
Right.
He said 20 homers. Turner hit 15.
Correct.
He said 110 ribbies. Turner hit 69.
Yep.
No, he didn't give an on-base percentage, but Turner's on-base percentage was not crazy.
355.
Right. It was not like eye-popping. It was solid.
For those who don't know, Juan Soto actually led the National League in on-base percentage last year with 396.
Right. 355 was 14th in the league. Alec Bohm, by the way, last year was 36th in the league with a 331 on base. So if he had the year that Ruben Amaro just projected, that probably would put him in the top 5. Now, that's in a vacuum if nobody else got any better and anything changed. But 320 homers and 110 RBI, that probably would put him in the top 5.
And again, we're going off of what we saw last year's voting, and you have 2 guys in the top 5 who definitely fit that parameter.
Now, that being said, I can see the 110. 20 homers, it's not outrageous, but I'll believe it when I see it. We've been waiting for years for him to hit. I keep saying, can he hit 18 to 22? That hasn't happened. The 300 batting average. I mean, he hit 287 last year. So is it crazy to say he could hit 300? That's 13 more points. He got off to a wretched start and still got to 287. So I will even say that that's not crazy, but I don't see it happening. By the way, Bohm's best average, if you take his 2020 COVID season out where he hit 338, His best batting average was last year at 287. He has hit 280, 274, 280, and his first year he hit 247 after the COVID year. So he has been a pretty consistent. His career batting average is 279.
Let's also factor in, as the guys mentioned on the Philly Show podcast, Alec Boehm is going to be a free agent.
I will say he did hit 20 homers one year. He hit 20 in 2023, and he had 97 ribbies that year.
You would have never known.
He hit 20 homers with 97 RBI, and he hit 274.
He's like the most nondescript home run hitter.
He's just not a home run hitter. That's been part of the problem with him hitting in the 4-hole. He's just not a home run hitter, but he did hit 20. So for me to say, again, I said it's not crazy. I'll believe it when I see it, but he has hit 20 before, and he did have 97 RBIs twice. And I said I could see him getting to 110. That being said, if Boehm has that year that Ruben Amaro just laid out, I still don't think that's good enough to hit in the 4-hole. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe the other prediction from the Philly Show might help Boehm, because the guy hitting behind him right now to start the year is Bryson Stott, and Ty Zalecki has Bryson Stott as his bold prediction for the 2026 season.
Bryson Stott makes his first NL All-Star team, which is not super bold, but he finishes top 5 for the NL batting title. He has an absolute career year and turns into a star player for the Phillies. I guess you could say I'm a believer in the way he finished last season and has looked so far this spring.
Okay, here's my problem with that. 2 things. 1, he's not going to play every day. I mean, he'll play a lot because he's the left-handed bat in the platoon.
Right.
So he will play a lot. Second base is a weak position. You got Marte, Cronenworth, Terang. The Cardinals, I think, are going to play Weatherholt there this year.
That's
They're moving
the plan, yeah.
Donovan over to short. Horner from the Cubs. Albies had a down year last year. So it's not the deepest position. So for him to make the All-Star game, it would really be Marte that would be the clear favorite. Bryce Terang would probably be the next guy. But the way he's talking about it makes it sound like he's playing every single day. Now, last year, Bryson Stott, I don't know how many games. He played 147 games last year. I can't imagine I don't think he started 147 games because he plays in the platoon. How many games does he actually get will be interesting to see. Now, he said, I'm a believer in the way he ended the season. Last year, he hit 257, 13 homers, 66 ribbies. His best year was 2023. 280, 15 homers, 62 RBI. If he has that year, 280, 15 homers, 62 RBI, he had 329 on base, which is not good. But he did have a 4.4 WAR. He's a very good defensive player. If he hits 280 with 15 homers, 62 RBI, that's not good enough to hit in the 5-hole.
No.
That's the problem. So his best year, which was a solid year, it's not good enough to hit number 5.
But to your question, Stott, he started 132 of those games last year.
So 132, that means
he came
30 games Sosa gets at second base.
Right. He came into 15 games that he did not start.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that prediction, even if Stott duplicates his best year, it's not good enough to hit in the 5-hole.
No. So then why are they batting him in the 5-hole?
I don't know. I'm a little surprised if that's where they end up hitting. Now, they hit him in the 5-hole on Monday, and that's why we're anticipating that he will be in the 5-hole on Thursday.
Well, some people have conjectured, Mike, and
I will, just real quick, though. I will add, Brandon Marsh, he's not good enough to hit in the 5-hole either, and he's your other option.
Or you can go back-to-back righties and go Boehm and Garcia.
Possible, yes.
Now, so there's a theory out there, and I'm asking you, Mike, the baseball guy, not as much maybe Mike, the Phillies guy. The theory is that Rob Thompson is basically starting the year with everybody in the slots that they are comfortable in, and he's saying to everybody, look, we're going to start the year with the slot that you're comfortable in, If it doesn't go well, we're shaking things up after the
Do you
first few
think that
weeks.
Bryson Stott would say I'm most comfortable in the 5-hole?
I don't think Bryson Stott cares where he hits. Do you?
I don't think Bohm would say 4.
No. I think it's more the idea is that that's where Turner.
This team
Harper,
has too many
Schwarber,
guys that belong in the 6, 7, and 8 spots.
or
Not
two.
enough guys, or 0, that belong in the 4 or 5 spot.
They have nobody except for Schwarber who belongs in the 4.
Correct. I mean, Garcia in his prime.
Right. But the question is, we don't know what version of Garcia we're getting.
No.
He spent half of spring training swinging and missing the other half destroying home runs.
All right, the last thing I want to hear about, Wheeler's going to pitch on Saturday. When can we anticipate seeing him?
So here's the latest from Jim Salisbury about what the Phillies' plan is for getting Wheeler ready for the regular season debut.
He's going to go 3 innings on Saturday. I would say in his next one, they'll try to push 4 innings. The one after that, they'll try to get 5 innings. And the one after that, they'll try to get 6 innings. A lot of variables. How the game goes, how he feels, where his pitch count is, a lot of variables. I also think they might err on the side of caution because he's so important, because it is such a long season, because he's older, and he's coming off a major surgery. So I could see all 4 of those starts to build the workload, the innings, the ups and downs, and the pitch count. So I would say he'll take all 4 of those.
All right, well, that is being very cautious, and I'm not against that. I mean, I don't think they need him to come back in the month of April. I think that's more him probably wanting to get back and stop. You know, if I'm going to pitch, I might as well just pitch at the big league level.
Do you think that's a reasonable way they're planning to do it?
Sure,
Just
and they
slowly ramp him up?
retroactive his his IL stint to March 22nd.
For
So
those
they
who
did
don't-
push that back.
Right. So for those who don't know, the reason why that's significant is because once you hit the IL, the rehab clock starts. It's a 30-day window. So technically the Phillies are telling you he'll be back by April 26th at the latest.
Yeah, so April 26th, that would be right before the end of the month. And I can imagine, that would be about the time you would see him back. That doesn't shock me at all.
So what's interesting is that number we just gave you, April 26th, is in line with what Ruben Amaro Jr.'s expectation is after watching Zack Wheeler in spring training.
I think it's going to be 4 starting on this Saturday. I do still think the over-under is right around April 20, April 21, 22, something like that. I do believe, I think 80 pitches and he's going to be ready to go. I think they feel like they have a little bit more bullpen depth, especially early in the season. And rather than eat up those innings during the course of a rehab assignment, I think that if he knows and he feels and the staff feels that he's healthy, he'll just go ahead.
That's what I would say. I think that a guy like that gets to a point where I don't need to pitch down here anymore. If I feel like I'm okay and I'm going to throw 60 pitches, why don't I just throw them for the big league team? I could be wrong. We'll see.
Right. And
No,
so,
he says
yeah.
sometime in April, like earlier than.
Well, he says April 20, 21, 22 is the number that Amaro's going with. Because now you heard him say, well, you said to an extent, hey, Wheeler could be like, look, I'm good. I'm ready. Like, just bring me up. And the Phillies could be like, hey, Taiwan, Wheeler's going to go 4 or 5 innings. Just be ready.
All right, there you go. Phils, we'll have plenty of coverage tomorrow. We'll do all sorts of predictions. It'll be a fun show tomorrow. Stop on out and see us live tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point. Coming up, more Sports Bash on the way. One more chance for you to qualify to win tickets to see the Phillies and Orioles. Listen for that sounder. It's going off in about 30 minutes from now. More Sports Bash. At 5:32, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Mike Bohm, 312, 115 RBI, 25 homers, second in the Gold Glove. That would be a day, huh? A year, right? 25 homers, I think, is going overboard. The rest of the 312, I think, is probably a little bit too much as well. But second in Gold Glove. Now, think about that. Could you imagine if Alec Bohm finished there? How many people out there think Bohm was going to have that type of season? Like, even close to what Amaro said.
I think the only number that I can rationalize is the 110 RBI.
Well, that's the one that I could see definitively. He has hit 20 home runs, though. I was a little surprised by that.
I don't see him hitting 25, though.
No, 25 I think is a little high.
25 feels like now we're really pushing the limits of reality. I mean, unless, people keep saying he looked bigger in camp, he was stronger, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Do you think Bohm's problem is his physical build or is it his swing?
No, he's obviously a big guy. His swing is more gap to gap. He's not a guy that swings to hit home runs. That's why his batting average is higher. He's not a guy that takes it. He doesn't strike out all that much. He's a guy who puts the ball in play. He makes contact. That's what frustrates him about people. He doesn't hit a lot of home runs because he doesn't try to hit a lot of home runs, but he doubles a lot. Puts the ball in play, hits the ball the other way. He's a good hitter. He's just not a number 4 hitter. Like, I don't have a problem with Bohm the hitter. I have a problem with Bohm hitting number 4. And there's a big difference. Like, hitting number 4, you're there for protection. You're there because of power. And if he's there, they're not pitching to hard, like the whole trio. If he's hitting 6th, now he's got a couple guys on base. He hits a double down the right field line, or he hits a ball in the gap. He's much better suited for a spot where, he doesn't have to be counted on to protect people. Jim in Williamstown says, I feel that by the end of the year, the Phillies will have at least 3 pitchers getting Cy Young votes. I don't think that's far-fetched. Obviously, now the question will be, is Wheeler going to be one of the 3? Like, if he comes back and pitches by the end of April, I think that gives him enough starts to get into the conversation.
It does, yeah. I mean, you really only need May to September, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's plenty of starts to get him, enough starts to say, hey, he would be. Now, you got Skeens, who's obviously a favorite. You got your own teammate with Sanchez. Now, he said 3 Phillies pitchers in the top. What was it? Top what? Cy Young? Let me see. I don't know if it gave a specific. He says, I can see the Phillies will have at least 3 pitchers getting Cy Young votes. Okay. Well, what? Top 5, top 10, top 15? Because right. I could definitely see Luzardo. I could definitely see Sanchez. And if Wheeler makes enough starts, which I think he will, I can see those 3 getting top 15. If I'm bullish on Painter.
I know. You're like hyper bullish.
Well, why shouldn't I be? Like, do you think he's going to flop?
I don't think he's going to flop. I just think he's a year away still. I think he's going to have a roller coaster year. I think he's going to have some starts this year where
he very
he'll
well
be amazing. Others he'll be like, ooh, yeah, he's a rookie.
He very well may. But was he not on the same level as all these other top level pitchers? So
That's
why should
what
I
he was
think?
Compared to, yeah.
Why should I think they're good and he's not?
Because they didn't come off of his injury.
No, but that injury now is almost like spraining your ankle. So many of these guys have that injury and are actually better after. Now, He had the year last year where his struggle was what a lot of these guys go through.
Right.
They struggle with command, but it's not his stuff that was the problem. I mean, I look at Nolan McLean. He went 5-1 last year with a 2.06 ERA. Now, that was only in 8 games, but in those 8 games, got him enough that he started the championship game of the WBC for whatever the hell that's worth, but the guy's pretty darn good. Painter is thought of higher than him. I mean, Painter would be closer to like a Skeens rated prospect. Wrong, right or wrong?
Painter, yes.
Yes. So, again, I don't know why the anticipation, I think I'm bullish on him. Why wouldn't I be?
I just have trouble. And again, I could be wrong. I don't care. But I just look at him as a guy.
We're all just making observations off of things.
I just observe him as this. He's a young guy. This will be his first time going through the big league. He'll have some great starts where he's just blowing people away. And I think some veteran teams will come along on the schedule and they'll know how to pick him apart.
That's very measured, yes. But some guys are top-level prospects for reasons. He's one of them. And when they come in, Nolan McLean comes in, he's facing the Phillies. The Phillies are in first place. He mows them down. And people are like, well, the Phillies lineup's the problem. They won 96 games. There's not too many other lineups that are anywhere close to the Phillies. Whether you think the Phillies lineup is good or not, we're acting like there's just loaded lineups all over the place. So when he's the number 5 pitcher on your rotation, a lot of times he's going to be pitching without pressure. He's not going to be matched up against, it's not going to be Painter against McLean or Painter against Strider. And Strider's hurt, but, my point is these young guys come in, and a lot of times if they are top-level prospects, they come in and they succeed. How many top-level prospects do you see come in and pitch, and then they're like, man, whatever happened to that guy? Like, many of these times when you hear about them, they come in and they make a name for themselves right off the bat. I'm talking about when you're talking about number 1 prospects in all of baseball.
The only guy
this guy is not like he's just the number 1 guy in the Philly system. They were talking about one of the top pitchers in all of baseball.
Right. The only time that what you're described happens is if there's an injury. That's the only time it happens.
Right, and you could say, yes, he's had an injury, and I would agree
No,
with
I mean
that.
future injuries. Like, in my mind, I go back to, Mark Pryor, for example. That guy was a top prospect.
Yep.
He had, a 2 or 3 year run, and they got injured. They kept getting injured again and again. So, it wasn't his fault. It's just, it happened.
Yeah. That's why I say, I look at him and say, he has been compared to not as good as Skeens, but
well, the term that Keith Law said to you last year on the Sports Bash was he said that Andrew Painter is to the Phillies organization as a prospect what Paul Skeens was to the Pirates.
I remember that conversation, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying said he's better than Paul Skeens, but if Skeens is 1, Painter is maybe 2 or 3.
Right.
So if that's the case, I don't go in giving him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, maybe I should, but I'm saying Paul Skeens came up and made an impact right away.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Painter will have a serious impact. I just don't know if he'll be getting any Cy Young votes.
That wouldn't surprise me. I would think him getting Cy Young votes would surprise me less than Bohm finishing in the 5th.
If you had to rank him.
I'm just saying. That to me, would surprise me more if Bohm was top 5. Would surprise me more than if Painter finished in the top 15.
And again, it's not that we're anti-Bohm. You've been a big Alec Bohm guy for years, and I personally think he's going to have a good year because he's in a free agent year.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, he's going to have a good year. That's why I don't hate him being in the 4 hole. I just know he's not built for that role because what you're doing is you're basically shoving your 3 best hitters into the top of the lineup and then telling the rest of the lineup to just, not fumble the football.
So to go back to that text message, 3 guys, yeah, I could see that happening. That's not a far-fetched text by him. 609-403-0973. What else we got? This one's any update on Joel? Usually Nurse talks right about now because Ray in EHA says, I've been saying this to you guys. The Sixers have been doing this all without Joel. Hopefully he is healthy for the playoffs. Well, he is slated to play tonight, we think. Not official, but usually Nurse talks right about now, so he may have said something here in the last 10 minutes or so. We can try to find out to see if he has said anything that has verified whether he will play or not, but I would think at this point that he will play. And we do know that Paul George will play tonight, and you can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN.
I see one tweet from Kyle Neubeck that says, the latest Sixers pregame update is that Embiid is still a game-time decision. Grimes is available.
Grimes is in.
So Embiid, they're going to take it right up to game time.
Oubre back doing court activities. He wasn't participating in the shoot-around this morning. No formal timeline, but it sounds like he could be back pretty soon. Okay. So, and according to Adam Aronson as well from Philly Voice, Sixers Adam, Grimes is available tonight. So they do get Grimes back. They do get Paul George back.
One of the things that Bob Cooney has put out there, he says Embiid's availability will be determined after the pregame workout. So that's basically half of Joel's career.
Do we know? Do we know if Paul George is on a minute restriction or anything?
I don't see a minute restriction, which I'm actually hoping he's not, just because I would like to see them just be like, "Hey, go get your cardio, boy. Like you've been practicing for."
At no point would I ever
weeks.
hope that someone's on a minute restriction. Like, I would never be like, I really hope they put Paul. No, you're back out there. You play as much as you physically can go. These minute restrictions are ridiculous. If you say, hey, coach, I got 3 more minutes left of me, and you've hit your 25-minute restriction, what's the difference between 28 and 25? For a professional athlete. Now, I can understand for a Jamoke, you're out there running around for 3 extra minutes. Maybe you're just – but a professional athlete, you can handle 3 extra minutes if your team needs you.
What's the one activity that you think you could do the longest?
Like what? What do you mean?
Like, running, bicycling, hiking.
I just hiked 7 hours.
Okay.
In Petra. Wasn't fun. I mean, like, it was grueling.
But you did it.
But I did it, yeah.
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 Because some
running,
people,
I'm out
they're
on.
big bicycle people. Some people are big runners.
Yeah, I'm not my buddies in high school were like great runners, cross country guys. I have no interest in that. I don't know how. I know people who are just like running.
Yeah, I know. I'm not one of them either.
I'm out on that.
I'm the guy who at the gym, if I have to run, I put something on like my phone, like Netflix, something on the treadmill, and I watch.
No, I mean, like, if you said, "Hey, we're doing this hike today," I can psych myself up to do it. Like, I can complete it. I might be slow.
Yeah.
But I just hiked. I think it was like 7 hours in Petra.
Nice. How did you feet feel after that?
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah. All right. We'll update the poll question. Get out of here on this Wednesday night. Coming up next.
Oh. Now it's toasty in here.
All right, 10 to the top of the hour. Getting ready to get out of here. Don't forget tonight, Sixers and Bulls. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN. Tomorrow we're live at the Anchorage in Summers Point for the Phillies opening day watch party. We'll watch the Phils, and we're going to have a pair of tickets to give away. We have one more chance for you to qualify coming up. Listen for that sounder between now and the end of the show. It's going to be a great day tomorrow. It's supposed to be a nice day. It will be a packed house there. I would get there early. Get there early tomorrow at the Anchorage in Summers Point. We usually ask you to try to get there to check in by, 4:30-ish?
Yes.
And then, you hang out, though. The first pitch is, 4:15 tomorrow, I think, for the Phils?
It's about that, yeah, 4:10.
4:15, I think it is.
Either
4:10,
way.
4:15. I think it's 4:15, whatever it is. Come hang out, get yourself a seat.
What I think people should do is they should get there at 3:30, get yourself a seat, hang out, say hello to Mike Gill, Nick Earnshaw. Nick will be happy to see you, right? Sit down, get yourself settled in, get a drink, get something to eat,
Get
watch
something
the
to
Phillies
eat.
game.
The food, fantastic at the Anchorage.
You make a day of it,
Well, I'm saying, get there early, get yourself your set-up seat, because the last time we were at the Anchorage, we did 99 bottles there a couple of years ago, and you guys know how big 99 bottles gets.
Yep.
I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be just as big, if not bigger. It's a nice day. It's opening day. People are looking to get out of the house, and we have a great trip we're giving away, plus other great tickets as well. So tomorrow, and listen, if you did not qualify, you were somebody who tried, you're just looking for a place to watch the Phillies game tomorrow, we'll be at the Anchorage in Summers Point, our Phillies annual opening day watch party. It's from 2 to 6. Phillies first pitch, 4:15. Check in, watch the Phils, and then stick around for March Madness tomorrow night, which the games tomorrow, let's see, which games are the ones tomorrow night? Is that St. John's and Duke tomorrow night? Are they the Sweet 16 games tomorrow? Let's see. Tomorrow we have Texas, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska. That one's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
Arkansas, Arizona,
That'll be fun.
Illinois, Houston is the games tomorrow. And then on Friday, St. John's, Duke, Alabama, Michigan, Michigan State, UConn, Tennessee, Iowa State. I think the better games are on Friday, but tomorrow night should be fun as well. So stop out and see us tomorrow there. Speaking of which, tomorrow we are at the Anchorage for our Phillies opening day watch parties. Starting on April 3rd will be our Phillies day parties at Ventnor Social. We're going to be at Ventnor Social for the Phillies. They have 20 big screen TVs to come on out and watch. They got really good food. I really enjoyed Ventnor Social. We did a bunch of shows there in the summer last year. We're going to be doing our Phillies day games, and we're going to be there once a month. We'll be picking out a day game to go watch. And we're going to give you more details on why you need to be at these. So listen for that coming up after. We'll do that on Friday. We'll give you the details on that. Ventnor Social on Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Good stuff. All right. Tomorrow on the show, by the way, we'll do a Sweet 16 preview. Kelly in Vegas will be on the show. Kelly, we met her down at Super Bowl. She does all the betting stuff for Splash Sports, so she'll be on the show tomorrow. Football at 4 with DeCecco. Nuggets will be live tomorrow, and Jeff Kerr is going to be live at the ballpark. So fun show tomorrow as well. We'll see everybody tomorrow live at the Anchorage in Summers Point. Not before. I need caller number 7. Right now, and 8. Last 2 qualifiers are right here. 7 and 8. 609-573-3776. 609